Chapter 159 The Remnants of the Broken Half-Plane. Although they were considered elites among their peers, they were still too young to be comparable to these senior old fritters who had been in the outer territory for so long. You must know that after leaving the school, there are no restrictions on the players of God's domain. As long as you are willing to pay the price of the future, you can easily fill up the God's domain to the limit that your own divinity can carry. These students who are trained in the way of regular academies are hard to compare in the early stage, on them. The later academies are definitely stronger in both strength and potential, but it is not easy to say in the first and second grades of high school. But as the saying goes, wealth are at risk, and the benefits of a God's tomb are enough to make them take a little risk. Yes, just a little risky. Before confirming to agree to them, Lin Xiao contacted his mentor in the Observer of the top-level university, Ether, and sent them a message. Tell them the news that they are going to enter the Tomb of the Gods about the opportunity they encountered after completing their tasks. Whether it is the team mentor or the Observer of the Ether, he doesn't know if they have been paying attention to him before, but now that he reports this to them, then he will definitely enter their line of sight next. Lin Shu and Shen Yuexin could see his actions. At the same time as the information was uploaded, he said to them, "With the weight of the three of us, the tutor will definitely pay attention to us later, so that even if there is any irresistible danger in the Tomb of the Gods, the tutor will rescue him at the critical moment. This is equivalent to leaving a way out for yourself. Although it is a bit stupid to pin your hopes in the hands of others, it is a safe way. Summer camp officials, tutors, and their respective schools, as long as any one of them pays attention to them, will save them at the most dangerous time, and the safety guarantee is quite high under multiple insurances." After doing this, Lin Shaoxi said to Zhang Feng, "It's okay to work together. There are so many people in great strength. The Tomb of the Gods is so dangerous, so we can just share the pressure." A warm smile immediately appeared on Zhang Feng's face, and he laughed. "It's our honor to work with all the top students." Lin Xiao also laughed back. "You're very kind. You are all experienced adventurers, and your experience and knowledge are much better than others. The later explorations are still led by you. It's easy to talk, let's cooperate sincerely and make a fortune together." Well, make a fortune together. In just a few words, the cooperation method was finalized. The two parties got together to discuss it, and a total of 8 players of God's domain spread out to continue to explore the space cracks one by one, and the efficiency was greatly increased. Zhang Feng and 11 other ordinary adventurers stopped temporarily above the lonely peak in the middle of the valley. Except for Yu Shuquan, all of them were masters of the 6th or 7th extraordinary level. Even Zhang Feng seemed to be gentle, but he was actually an extraordinary person. Ranked Warlock. As the only non-extraordinary person, Yu Shu would not be able to participate in such a big event if he hadn't brought his divinity here. He looked at the busy people with envious eyes, and suddenly asked in a low voice, "Director, do you really want to cooperate with them?" Zhang Feng glanced at him and nodded. "Cooperation." Yu Shu sighed and sighed. "That's the Tomb of the Gods. It won't work if you don't cooperate." Zhang Feng looked up at the sky for a long time, then suddenly pointed to the sky and said with a smile, "Do you believe it or not, there are at least 2 true gods looking at this place right now." Yu Shu raised his head in astonishment. The sky was dark and yellow, and there was nothing, and said strangely, "No way. Hey, you have to know that this is the period of the Super Freshman Summer Camp, and it is still during the exchange competition. The 5 super universities and more than 100 institutions of higher learning, not to mention the powerhouses from the University Alliance gathered. This plane is at this time. I am afraid that hundreds of incarnations of true gods have gathered, and every corner of the entire plane is under their noses." He glanced at his hand and said, "In this case, can we not agree?" Yu Shu was speechless, and after a while he sighed. "I'm so envious of riding a horse." 8 people searched together, hundreds of space cracks were quickly searched, and finally a total of 17 cracks with traces of vampire demigods were found. Then, headed by Li Cheng, the team leader of Yuming Trading Company who obtained the demigod of the vampire, they compared the deity and the cracks one by one to determine which crack the vampire demigod entered. The divinity of the same origin is connected, and the divinity is close to the crack in the plane. If it is true, there will be a reaction. Just trying the fourth plane crack, and seeing that bit of divinity come alive, you know that the crack is real. But in order to be on the safe side, all the remaining cracks were inspected, and it was finally determined that this space crack at the foot of the solitary peak was the entrance to the tomb of the gods. Next, is to go in. In order to express his sincerity, Zhang Feng said, "Wait, we will have a team member enter first, and then you enter one, take turns, how?" Lin Xiao smiled and said, "Don't be so troublesome, you two go first, and then the three of us go in together, how about it?" Zhang Feng was stunned for a moment, then immediately smiled. Sure. He looked at Li Cheng, the captain, who immediately raised his chin to the two players behind him. "Feng Wei, Wang Jichao, you two go first." The two subordinates nodded without hesitation and came to the front of the space crack. With a thought, a layer of golden glazed divine light shielded the whole body, and strode into the crack with black flames. After a burst of crackling sound, the person disappeared. When the two of them entered, Lin Xiao and the others came to the space crack. Before entering, they suddenly turned around and waved to the sky. Zhang Feng, Li Cheng and others changed their expressions, and they also waved in the direction of their beckoning. Grinning awkwardly. Stepping into the space crack, it feels like stepping into a volcanic lava pool or a sulfuric acid pool. The black void energy reacts violently with their protective power, and the crackling sounds can be clearly sensed. Divine shield consumption. When they completely stepped into the space crack, the darkness before their eyes changed, and they had left the broken plane and entered the void beyond the crystal wall of the plane. There should be an endless sea of void behind the crack in normal space, and a large number of aurora of different colors are scattered outside the crystal wall they are walking on. This should be the remnants of plane fragments that have not completely disappeared, indicating that there is a high probability that there was once an attachment here. Where the demi-plane of the Great Plane is located, there is a teleportation array fixed on the edge of the crystal wall in the residual aurora of this plane. Even if it is eroded by the void storm all the year round, it is not damaged, and it still stubbornly emits intermittent light. After all, it has been in existence for too long without maintenance. Even if it is a god's arrangement, this teleportation array is about to lose its hold. It seems that it is already very unstable, and I don't know when it will disappear completely. Feng Wei and Wang Jichao, who were the first to set off, were standing above the teleportation formation, and when they saw them coming in, they beckoned them to go over. The three flew to the large teleportation array, and Wang Jichao, whose hair was covered with small whips, said, "Should we go in now or wait until they arrive?" Lin Xiao glanced at the two teammates, and Lin Shu said, "Let's go together. This teleportation array doesn't look very stable, and it is estimated that it won't be used many times." Wang Jichao and Feng Wei naturally have no opinion. The five stood for a while, and another Divine Realm player named Feng Wei suddenly came over and said, "The few who can participate in the Super Freshman Summer Camp are the elites of the elite. We are all scumbags who were eliminated early. I am very curious about this. Can you tell us some interesting things about the summer camp?" This. Lin Xiao scratched his head and said, "Brother, I don't know how to answer this question. Then talk about how powerful the top elites in your summer camp are. I heard that this summer camp is divided into seats. Tell us how powerful those top elites are at the silver and gold level." "What?" At this time, Wang Jichao on the other side also said with interest, "I heard that there is a sub-ranking player named Wu Zonglin in our Huasha district this year. He was ranked in the sub-ranking list of Tianzhou in the first year of high school. He is terribly strong. You must have seen it. Tell us about his strength." "That's easy to say." Lin Xiao breathed a sigh of relief, glanced at Shen Yuexin, who was secretly laughing with crescent eyes, and said, "This big guy is really amazing. Do you know the Kobold Dragon Bane Warlock?" "That's it." The void energy expanded at the crack on the side, and more than a dozen figures came out of the crack in the plane. Li Cheng, who was walking in front, was stunned when he saw the three chatting together. Wang Jichao also saw the captain quickly get up and rub his hands. "Road. Hey, we're chatting with them." Li Cheng nodded and said nothing. He glanced at the teleportation array and said, "Now that everyone is together, get ready to go together." Saying that, He crouched down and reached out and pressed the teleportation array on the edge of the crystal wall of the plane to inject divine power and prepare to activate. At this time, the man whose hair was burning blue flames called Yu Zifeng leaned over and asked his teammates in a low voice. "What are you talking about?" Wang Jichao laughed and said. "Talk to the big brother about that super freshman summer camp." Yu Zifeng immediately became interested and said, "Really? I want to hear it too. Speak slowly on the road." "Okay." Li Cheng quickly stabilized the teleportation formation and gathered everyone together. The teleportation gate was activated only after the strength was connected as a whole. With the explosion of the dazzling light, a group of more than a dozen people disappeared. After they left, several tyrannical wills descended, and the surrounding void energy was completely evacuated to form a clear void. A powerful will swept across the bleak teleportation array, and after a while, the voice sounded. "Interesting, there is still a tomb of the gods that has not been discovered on this plane." Then another queen-like female voice sounded. "It seems that their luck is not bad, go and see." Certainly, the will quickly disappeared in place, and the discharged void energy surged and slammed into it, forming a surging energy tide rushing in all directions. At this time, Lin Xiao and the others had crossed an unknown distance through the portal and came to a broken half-plane. "I'm sorry, I don't know why the alarm clock didn't go off and I didn't have time to replace it." Chapter 160 from the ancestors 300,000 years ago. This shattered half-plane has been severely damaged, or this half-plane should have disappeared long ago, but there is a huge ancient building in this plane, exuding a faint divine light to resist the erosion of void energy and protect a small area around the old building. This demoplane is not their destination, but a transit point. A group of nearly 20 people stood in front of the portal that exuded a desolate and ancient atmosphere, watching the dim light in the center of the tall stone portal, and looked at each other. This gate is like the gate of the ancient temple. It is made of large black stones. From a distance, it looks familiar to Lin Xiao. There is a statue of a warrior holding a big sword on the left and right of the gate. On the top is a giant dragon head, and the pupils are burning with flames. There are huge claws on the left and right corners above the door, and the faucet looks down in front of the door. Isn't this the dark portal in Warcraft? As an old player, he quickly matched the appearance of this gate with the appearance in his memory, feeling a sense of confusion in time and space. But one thing is certain, this boulder gate is the real entrance to the tomb of the gods, and you will know it at first sight. Obviously, this is an ancient portal. The real tomb of God is in an unknown space, and it is necessary to pass through this portal to reach the tomb of God. It's nothing to say, come on in. As before, the two of them head first, and the others follow. The moment Lin Xiao stepped into the door of the tomb of the gods, he felt that his whole body sank, and a force field that was completely irresistible was pressed down, and the divine shield of the body quickly melted away, scaring him to quickly input more power of faith. However, this power was too powerful, and the power of tens of millions of faith was injected into the divine shield before it collapsed on the spot. "I rely on, finish." Quote. Just when Lin Xiao was about to meet the pressure of the terrifying force, the force that he could not resist disappeared out of thin air after crushing the divine shield. On the lawn, at this point, he has recovered his eyesight, and of course he can see himself lying on the grass, a very ordinary grass, and he can even recognize that it is just an ordinary weed, nothing special. Looking up quickly, the sky is clear, the breeze is gentle, the white clouds are fluttering, the trees in the distance are shady, the scenery is beautiful, and it is a beautiful suburban style. Not only him, but a group of more than a dozen people lying on the ground were all stunned. They looked at each other and were speechless for a while. If they hadn't sensed that the pressure of the terrifying kingdom of God that they couldn't resist was still there, they would have thought that they had come to an unknown plane. Yes, the terrifying force that lifted all their resistance just now is the power of the kingdom of God. As a player of the kingdom of God, you can be 100% sure, that is to say, their current position is within the kingdom of God. And it also gave them a terrifying fact that this tomb of God was not only made up of the kingdom of God, but also had not been damaged. In other words, the owner of this God's tomb may still exist. This is terrifying, no matter what level of deity the owner of the tomb of God was in his lifetime, as long as it is a true God, even if there is only a trace of remnant soul left, it is enough to easily arrange them neatly with the power of the kingdom of God, without any resistance. But then again, the power of the kingdom of God only relieved their resistance and did not kill them on the spot. This shows that the owner of the kingdom of God is not an evil God, and there is still a trace of vitality. If it was the heretic God, they would have been directly crushed to death just now. But no matter what it was, their situation didn't seem to be very good at this time. There are two different things between a tomb of a god with an owner and a tomb of a god without an owner. No matter how good the key character is, the gods will never have a good attitude towards those outsiders who break into their tombs. The difference is how to die. Fortunately, not immediately die. Lin Xiao got up from the ground and patted the dirt on his hands. It's pretty real. He squeezed and rubbed the ooze with the belly of his fingers. It was indeed real dirt, which made him raise his eyebrows, widened his eyes in disbelief, and squatted down again to grab a handful of dirt. On the side, Shen Yuexin also got up from a daze and was patting the soil on his body. Seeing his movements, he asked, "Have you found anything?" Everyone else turned their heads to look at Lin Xiao. He stared at the mud in his hands carefully, raised his hand and showed it to everyone, saying, "Don't you find it strange?" Everyone stared at his hand carefully, and shook their heads for a while. Lin Xiao had to remind, "Here, it should be a kingdom of gods, but this soil is not transformed by divine power in the kingdom of gods, this is real soil." A few ordinary adventurers may not understand it, but the players in the divine realm instantly understood what he meant, and they all grabbed a handful of soil or a piece of grass from the ground and carefully rubbed it with their hands, exclaiming in amazement, "Really? Is this impossible? How can there be real material existence in the kingdom of God?" But this is indeed the kingdom of God. Everyone was puzzled. Lin Xiao threw away the soil in his hand and looked up at the sky. There was a vague idea in his heart, but he couldn't believe it. The idea is very simple. It is indeed impossible for real matter to appear in the normal kingdom of God, but what if it is the realm of the gods? If this is a realm of the gods, then it is different. The reason why I can't believe it is because this tomb of the gods has a history of millions or even tens of millions of years. At that time, the main world did not come to this area at all, or at that time the main world did not discover this crystal wall system at all, and this when a god realm with a history of millions of years appeared in front of him, it could only show one possibility, that is, could it be that this divine tomb is actually a divine domain? Shen Yuexin gave the answer. As soon as the words fell, an old voice suddenly appeared in everyone's ears. "Congratulations on your guess." In the next second, the time and space in front of everyone changed, and everything in front of them quickly changed from grass to golden glazed floor, and they were transported to another place by an unknown force. Lin Xiao quickly raised his head and glanced around, and found that they were in a square paved with golden glazed floors that could not be seen at a glance. On the smooth and bare floor, in addition to the dozen of them, there were many statues standing on the ground, such as a dwarf warrior with thick plate armor, a knight with a two-handed sword, a beautiful elf with a magnificent bow on his back, or a wizard with a staff and a luxurious robe, a handsome vampire, even with his head held high the roaring dragon. Wait, his eyes fell on the unbelievably handsome vampire. How could he look more and more like the vampire demigod he killed before? In the distance of these lifelike statues, there is a thin layer of hazy mist. The more you get behind, the less you can see. Obviously this square is not really infinite, it has a limit. Of course, these are not the main points. He just glanced at it and quickly set his eyes on the center surrounded by many statues. The one suspended on a huge light sphere above the golden glazed floor, the familiar appearance in his memory made him blurt out. The main god space. In an instant, an indescribable will came, the terror was violently pressed down, and a series of "Kacha" bone fractures sounded, and everyone fell to the ground. The soft rays of light emitted by the ball of light slowly contracted, slowly turning into a human-shaped outline, and finally a white old man with a cane in his hand. The existence of perception, I don't know what to say for a while. The old man stood with his cane in front of them, pondered for a few seconds, then suddenly stretched out his cane, and most of the team disappeared out of thin air. The remaining 8 souls were almost scared to death. Shen Yuexin subconsciously reached out and pressed her forehead, but found that the old man did not intend to continue, so she gritted her teeth and did not continue. Lin Xiao didn't notice her movements, and he let out a few breaths with lingering fears. At this time, he regretted coming here. He didn't expect that the tomb of the gods was so strange, and the existence in it was so perverted. This was a completely unplayable rhythm. Sloppy. At this time, the old voice of the old man came from the ear. Don't worry, they're not dead, I'm just sending them where they should go. Everyone was stunned, and looked at each other again. Lin Xiao was slightly shocked. The one who was sent away happened to be the dozen or so non-gods domain players from Yuming Trading Company, Limited, and the remaining 8 people were all gods domain players. At this time, the old man stood on crutches and turned around and walked back to his original position with the staggering appearance of an old man walking, and said as he walked, I didn't expect to see the gods domain players after millions of years. The children told me how long has it been in the main world since humans discovered the gods domain game. Shit. Everyone looked up and stared at the old man. Even though Lin Xiao had some guesses in his heart, he was still very shocked when he heard the old man say it himself. This is really a senior player from the god realm who came from the main world like himself. Everyone looked at each other, even Shen Yuexin was shocked by this information. After a while, Li Cheng, the captain of the adventurer team from Yuming Trading Company, said quickly. Senior, I don't know, it has been more than 300,000 years since the main world discovered God's domain. He was very excited. If this was the first group of human explorers from hundreds of thousands of years ago, it would not only mean that their lives were saved, but also that they would have the opportunity to obtain the legacy of this obviously fallen predecessor. Excited. 300,000 years. The old man stood motionless and sighed for a while. Lin Xiao felt that the power that bound him had disappeared, and the old man's voice sounded. I can't believe that it has been so long, and seeing you all means that the invasion from the Tildegar crystal wall system has been blocked. Now the main world should have changed a lot. Tildegar crystal wall system. Lin Xiao had never heard of this name, and when he looked back at the others, he looked blank and didn't seem to know. The old man didn't ask any further, just smiled. Also, at your level, you should have not touched this aspect yet. As soon as the words fell, the realm of the gods suddenly shook violently, and then a dazzling divine light appeared out of thin air from the edge of the endless golden glazed platform and expanded rapidly. Everyone's attention was focused on the expanding divine light, forming an elliptical light gate, walked out of a figure burning with dark gold flames, and a crisp voice sounded. It's up to me to answer this question for the senior. Chapter 161. Although I understand, I'm still angry. The flames slowly shrank to reveal the cold face of the instructor Xie Yufei in the colonel's uniform. She stood upright and gave a military salute to the old man, and said loudly. Affiliated to the Yanwang No. 5 Theater, the 3rd Division of the 1st Expeditionary Force, the deputy head of the Raging Flames, Colonel Xie Yufei, I have seen my ancestors. The old man stared at her for a long time, and suddenly a smile appeared on his face, which became bigger and bigger, and then he laughed. After a few seconds, the smile faded, and his face became solemn. After returning a slightly different military salute, he said solemnly, Earth United Skyhawk Advance Force, Major General Carey. The United Nations of the Earth, this is the political system when human beings just discovered the game of God's domain, and just left the main plane and entered the foreign domain. It has been more than 300,000 years since the last disintegration, which means that this Major General named Carey is a 30,000 years antiques from thousands of years ago. Yes, even for the true God with immortal life, it is an antique. Because according to the time difference between the main world 1 day and 1 year, he has been living in the void of this crystal wall system for more than 100 million years. This is an ancient super long time span even in the concept of true gods. At that time, there were no such divisions as the Washa District, the Ivy League University Alliance, the Alliance of Giant Enterprises, and the Aristocratic Parliament. At that time, it was still the Earth United Nations. It was not until later that the gap between race and ideology gradually formed 4 huge forces, until one day the United Nations of the Earth collapsed and the main world was divided into 4. At this time, Xie Yufei's heart was full of surprises and surprises. She didn't expect to see a trace of spiritual sense left by the original ancestors of the main world here. This is a big event. You must know that every original ancestor is a respectable pioneer, explorer, not to mention the advance army, which is an advance team sent out when the main world is at its most dangerous. According to the history of the main world that Xie Yufei had seen, in the 200th year of exploring the exotic crystal wall in the main world, human beings came into contact with the invasion of the crystal wall gods named Tildegar. At that time, human beings did not even have powerful divine power. Born, it was impossible to resist the invasion of the allied forces of the gods of the different crystal wall. At the most dangerous time, the enemy once invaded the depths of the warp and approached the main world. At this critical time, the Expedition Advance Army was formed, and the elites were selected to leave the main world to go to the endless crystal wall system of the Chaos Void Sea, to find possible allies, and also to save the human fire. Later, no allies were found. Different crystal wall systems can only attract jackals. However, a member of the advance team suddenly broke out in a crystal wall system in the outer domain, just like the protagonist of a novel. When the world returned after less than 100 years, it was already a great divine power with a godhead level exceeding level 20, and it was already the main god of a super powerful divine system. The first great divine power born in the main world is the first principal of Weiyao, who is currently ranked number 1 in the 12 super universities. The birth of the great power represented the end of the war, and the gods of the Tildegar crystal wall immediately withdrew from the warp of the main world. Although the Tildegar crystal wall system also has a great divine power, it cannot be an opponent of the same great divine power that has the home field advantage in the main world of mankind. Next, the first great power of mankind established the Radiance Super Academy, and it has been in the main world all the year round. At the same time, the crystal wall system that was born by the old principle is now one of the crystal wall systems of the Human Alliance. To be precise, it is the glorious site of the Super University. The predecessors of the original advance team have basically died, and the survivors are less than 2 slaps. Now that a new advance team member has been discovered, I believe other senior advance team seniors in high positions will be very happy, especially that one. After Xie Yufei arrived, there was basically nothing to do with Lin Xiao and the others. After all, their level was too low, and they didn't know what this major general named Carrie wanted to know at this time. What's that like? A group of Yumming trading companies squatted on the smooth floor, Wang Jichao said speechlessly. We finally ran over, can we still explore this tomb of the gods? Another player, Feng Wei, shrugged. Who knows, wait and see. On the other hand, Lin Xiao and the other 3 were walking around the golden glazed square at will. When they came to the vampire statue, he waved to the 2 companions and said, "Look, does this look like a vampire demigod?" The 2 walked over and took a closer look. Shen Yuexin nodded and said, "It looks very similar, it should be him." That. They looked at each other with weird expressions on their faces. So, is our mission complete? It should be up to the High School Alliance to admit it or not. I definitely won't admit it, and we didn't kill it. Then what? Shen Yuexin spread her hands. That's the matter of the tutors and them, and it has nothing to do with us. That's a pain in the ass. Lin Xiao looked helpless. After speaking, he suddenly felt wrong. He looked up and saw Shen Yuexin staring at him. He didn't react for a while, and then heard 2 words from her red lips. Vulgar. Hey, don't get me wrong, I am. Before he finished speaking, the space suddenly vibrated again. He quickly raised his head and saw dozens of doors of light opened in the air. Dozens of distorted figures that even absorbed the air came out of them, and they all bowed to the old man. Good guy, are you all here? As soon as the voice fell, dozens of doors of light opened again in one breath, and the same group of figures whose appearance was distorted and indistinguishable descended, and the square suddenly became lively. Come on, let's go to the show. They stay by the side and don't dare to make a sound. Let's see how the situation develops. The second group came in obviously from a different camp from the first group, and the 2 sides began to argue after bowing to the old man. They couldn't hear what they said, but they could clearly feel the circles of substantial corrugations in the void created by the tyrannical exchange of spiritual thoughts. Obviously, this is what the observers representing the colleges and universities in Huasha district are fighting for with the observers representing the college alliance. And after a few hours of this kind of argument, a ball of light like the sun descended on this space. The sudden dazzling light made it impossible to look directly. Lin Xiao tried hard to open his eyes, but his eyes were so stabbed that he couldn't open them. Open. He was horrified, and there must be a projection of a big man coming. Not an ordinary big man, this is just a projection half-falling state, and he can't bear it and can't look directly. If it is replaced by a real body, a student like him who is not even a demigod is afraid that he will die on the spot. This is just a projection, not even an avatar. It is well known that projections can carry extremely limited power. If the incarnation is only between 1% and 1/2 of the power of the real body, then the projection is only between 1/10,000th to 1/1000th of the real body. The projection can cause this effect, which must be powerful. The projection of divine power can be so powerful, and I don't know which big man is. When the big man arrived, the final decision was made, and the two waves of observers did not dare to fight, nor could they fight, because they were also suppressed by the natural power of this big man and could not communicate. They could only communicate with the owner of the tomb. Lin Xiao was shocked to find a detail here. Although he couldn't see or hear the content of the communication, he could face it freely from the appearance of a powerful projection of divine power that descended on the master of the tomb. Generally speaking, it is at least medium or above divine power, and even powerful divine power is possible. I don't know how long it took. The existence like the sun suddenly disappeared, and many observers also disappeared. Just when they looked puzzled, suddenly the sky was filled with light from the sky and turned into silhouettes, and soon the huge golden glazed square was filled with people. A few of them were dumbfounded and looked at these summer camp players who suddenly appeared, thinking only about MMP. You bastard, we found this tomb of the gods. Okay, why are they all here? The exchange competition will not continue. The most excessive is not only the players from the Huasha district, but even the players from the Ivy League High School League are all there. Lin Xiao and the others didn't know what to say at this time, and they were full of the feeling of being taken advantage of. Compared to their speechlessness, the 5 people from Yumming Trading Company were hiding in the corner and shivering. Nearly 2,000 elite students gathered together to discuss in a very noisy manner. The 5 felt a strong sense of incompatibility. It feels like a scumbag who hasn't graduated from junior high school suddenly joined Peking University and Tsinghua University, where there are many scholars. I feel that whoever looks at him has doubts in his eyes. However, they couldn't refuse the decision from the military's top management. Besides, they were not summer camp players, so they had to worry about whether they would be kicked out later. The noisy state didn't last long when a familiar bell rang in Lin Xiao's ears, and the square instantly fell silent, making him feel like he was back in the summer camp arena. A mechanical voice sounded beside his ear. Because of special circumstances, the rules of the exchange competition in the last stage of the summer camp have been temporarily changed. The following is the new competition system. Please check it carefully. Lost, it really is. Secretly complaining, he still honestly checked the following series of data. But the more he looked at his face, the weirder the expression, and he looked up from time to look at the huge ball of light that had been reformed. The new rules are very simple, because he accidentally discovered this ancestor from ancient times and this god tomb, so the original exchange competition was cancelled, and the competition for this god tomb was replaced. Yes, it is to compete for this tomb of the gods. According to the new competition system, that is, the strong will of Major General Carey, the owner of the tomb of God, everyone can draw a certain number of cards from the card pool in the light sphere in the center of God's domain. Each person initially has a 100-point card, of which 1-star card counts as 1 point, 2-star card counts as 3 points, 3-star card counts as 5 points, 4-star card counts 10 points, and 5-star card counts 20 points. Get all the cards with 100 points. It is worth mentioning that they are free to choose a randomly drawn card level. That is to say, you can choose to draw all 1-star cards, or draw all 2-star cards, 5-star cards, and so on. Then, each student selects 3 cards from their own card library to form a combat card group and competes with other students. The loser is eliminated directly. Each time the winner wins a round, they can randomly get 1 to 3 cards from the defeated opponent's card pool to add to their own card pool, and select 1 card from their own card pool to add to the battle deck, and then play against their opponents in the next round. Continue until the end to defeat all opponents to become the ultimate winner and get the ownership of this Tomb of the Gods. That is, the winner takes all, and there is no second place. The reward was very exciting, but the following prompt made Lin Xiao frown. At Major General Carey's insistent request, each player from the Ivy League High School League initially had 120 cards, which was 20 points more than the players in the summer camp in China. In addition, the first card drawn by a player from the High School Alliance must be of epic or higher quality. If the first 5-star card is drawn, it must be a 5-star card of epic or higher quality. Here Major General Carey gave his own family an advantage, and it was also the condition that Major General Carey was willing to give Huasha a chance to compete for the Tomb of the Gods. Lin Xiao felt it was unfair and at the same time understood he would do the same. There is a saying that says that science has no borders, but scientists have national borders. It is completely normal to give oneself an advantage of the same race. But, I understand it, but I'm still angry. Text. Recommend a book. Zhonghu Appraisal Guide and Introduction. Antique Zhonghu, 3 teachings and 9 streams, intrigue. Even if the rivers and lakes are deep, but I can see the truth. Modern appraisal flow, the writing is very sophisticated, I like this type of book, you can have a look. Ahem, it's still an important notice. First of all, let's talk to new readers about Anti-D. This has long ago said that I want to prevent D, and that single chapter is still there, but everyday readers ask why the chapter is repeated, and now I say it again, this is to prevent D. Repeated chapters are updated at 3:30 in the morning, and replaced before 4:30. Everyone can see it when they wake up in the morning. This does not affect everyone's reading at all. There are a few night owls who stay up so late every day and wait for the update, which is not good for your health. I am also doing this for everyone's health. Isn't it fragrant to go to bed early and get up early? Chapter 162 Tailor-Made Rules. Major General Carey's Tomb of God is the best reward and an additional reward. In addition, there are regular rewards jointly issued by the Summer Camp and the Ivy League University Alliance, that is, the rewards for the 3rd stage of the summer camp, which are still awarded according to the normal ranking. Among them, the top 100 can get an extra card slot, a random 5-star card of mythical quality. 2 random mythic quality 5-star cards for the top 50. 3 random mythical quality 5-star cards for the top 20. The top 10 are based on the previous rewards, that is, 1 extra card slot and 3 random quality 5-star cards for the top 20, as well as 1 extra card slot and an Ancient God card. After the 3rd place, on the basis of the 10th place reward, there is an additional card slot, and 2 mythical quality cards, that is, a total of 3 additional card slots, an Ancient God card, and 5 random quality cards. 5-star card. The 2nd place increases again, with a total of 3 additional card slots, 1 Ancient God card, and 7 5-star cards of random quality. The 1st place, in addition to the Tomb of the Gods, also has 4 additional card slots, 2 Ancient God cards, and 10 5-star cards of random quality. It is worth mentioning that both the rewarded cards and the cards drawn from the new competition system are all random. In addition, the cards drawn from the card pool only look at the level, not the quality, that is to say, a 3-star mythical quality. Both the card and a normal quality Samsung card cost 5 points. This came from the strong request of Major General Carey. The reason is very simple. The fall of Major General Carey has a lot to do with luck, and he is almost obsessed with it, so he strongly demands that everything be random. According to Lin Xiao's understanding, this Major General probably fell because of bad luck, so he has only one request for his last inheritance, that is only the unlucky Emperor O is qualified to inherit his final inheritance. It can be seen from the competition system that random card drawing requires very high luck. If you are lucky, you can easily get a legendary 5-star card. If you are unlucky, you can even draw a white board. With the same configuration of 3 5-star cards, how can 3 white boards beat 3 golden mythical quality cards? The same is also random. Ivy League players have 20 extra cards and must have a 5-star card of epic quality. After reading the rules, the Huasha area is full of mourning, while the high school league is full of excitement and faces. With an excited smile, Bart in the High School Alliance spread his bloody wings, and the blood light spread in circles, and his body lightly rose into the air with his feet crossed in the air. Laughed. We have won this exchange competition. Wu Zonglin, who was chatting with a few teammates, turned his head expressionlessly. A pale red flame dragon head rose from the top of his head, and Bart fell from the sky with a groan. HMPH, what about stronger strength? This time it's all about luck. Bart was very upset when he was ugly, and snorted coldly, and a white man with snake-like hair next to him also hugged his arms and said, "Each of us has 2 first-mover advantages. I see what you can compare to us." Wu Zonglin frowned slightly and did not speak. As they said, when everyone relies on luck, these 2 additional advantages are very important, and all members have this advantage. As long as the luck of the college alliance is not too bad, it is basically a sure win. Fortunately, the college observers also took this into consideration, promising that they do not need to win in the next exchange competition. As long as they have a good performance, the previous special move promises are as effective, which stabilizes everyone's morale. However, this does not include Lin Xiao and the other 3. The tutors have additional requirements for the 3 of them, and they are required to have good grades. Among them, Lin Shu requires the last time to enter the top 50, and Lin Xiao and Shen Yuexin must enter top 20. The reason why the requirements of the 3 of them are different from the others is because they also have advantages. As the first to discover the Tomb of the Gods, after the negotiation of the military leaders in China and the approval of Major General Carey, they not only have advantages, they are also bigger than the Ivy League University Alliance. This Major General Carey really attaches great importance to luck. Lin Xiao and the 5 people from Yuming Trading Company were able to discover the Tomb of the Gods before the others. Major General Carey thought it was very lucky. Got a chance to fight for his legacy, and everyone has an edge over high school league players. First, each of the 8 of them has a card pool of 150 points. Second, you can draw a 5-star card with the minimum epic quality. The point is that if you are not satisfied with the card drawn for the first time, there is a chance to redraw only the first 5-star card above the designated epic. That's pretty cool. As long as you don't get too lucky, you can start off with a huge advantage. The expressions of the 3 of them were fairly normal. Li Cheng and the other 5 were all surprised and couldn't be more excited. For them, it was like a group of ordinary people had the opportunity to participate in a high-end banquet, not only being able to share the stage with the surrounding bigwigs, but also having the opportunity to take the stage to accept the award. The feeling is indescribable, it feels like floating. Moreover, they have received a promise from the military that they can compete for the same ranking as other players and get rewards. If they can enter the top 10, they will have the opportunity to be drafted into the army. If you can become the first successor to become the Tomb of the Gods, after being drafted into the army, you will be recommended to enter the military-affiliated institution of higher learning for training. This is a good opportunity for wild and folk adventurers like them to leap over the Dragon Gate, which should not be missed. It is worth mentioning that the additional advantages of several of them are unknown to others, only the military knows, otherwise they will not give this kind of promise to a few civilian adventurers who have been eliminated early. Although there is a high probability that it is difficult to achieve great achievements, no one can say anything about luck. In the end, it is not impossible for a folk adventurer to get the Tomb of the Gods. In the square, the students gathered in groups of 3 or 5 to chat. Lin Xiao, Lin Shu and his little aunt stood together. They saw Gucheng and others gathered on the other side early on. They had seen each other for a long time but they did not converge. It's clear that the alienation has begun. There is nothing they can do about it. The ancient city has been the boss for a long time, and they definitely don't want to live under others. And they can't listen to someone whose strength is not as good as themselves. If the ancient city has Wu Zonglin's strength, there is no need to say anything, but he doesn't have it. As for the big guy Wu Zonglin, Lin Xiao looked around and found that he was chatting with the woman named Arya from the Ivy League High School League, and there was no one else around. This white woman named Arya is quite beautiful. Although she is slightly inferior to Shen Yuexin in appearance and figure, she is also a superb beauty, especially her body is as crystal clear as ice jade, and the circles of blue ripples slowly spread. The snow pattern continues to condense in the void, like a goddess of ice and snow. This foreign beauty has a good impression of Wu Zonglin. She is like a goddess of ice and snow, but she is passionate. Now she seems to be actively pursuing Wu Zonglin. Bart and the others, who had let go of the harsh words just now, didn't look good at this time. A group of big men gathered together and stared at them viciously with their arms in their arms. They didn't have the momentum just now. This scene made Huasha district very cool. Lin Xiao heard someone muttering beside him. How about an advantage? Your so-called Tianzhou beauty has not been conquered by the men on our side. That is, mad at them. It would be nice if there were more. Hey, I have the contact information of the girl with the flaming hair, let me get in touch. Yo, brother, you can, come over quickly. Hold on. Let go of this girl and let me come. The sudden shout made Lin Xiao, like everyone else, turn his head abruptly. Seeing Wang Jichao staring at Arya with a sullen expression, his companions saw more than a dozen glances, and hurry up. At the same time, he took a step back, a look I didn't recognize. I wipe, it's not what you think it is. 15 minutes later, as a crisp bell rang, everyone heard the prompt from the system. The exchange competition is about to start, please prepare all players to pick cards. Then a transparent light curtain popped up in front of Lin Xiao, and there was a huge golden Russian roulette in the center. Lin Xiao understood at a glance that this golden Russian roulette with 36 divisions was the so-called card pool. At the same time, he felt his whole body sink, and all his divine power disappeared. Next, all players will be in a state of confinement, unable to use any divine power, unable to enter the realm of the gods, and unable to use any props. This does not mean cheating and fouling out of the game, but directly confinement and unable to use, and can only use the cards drawn from this card pool to combine a set of cards to fight against other players. Well, it's a battle between Huasha District and the High School League players. He looked up at Lin Shu and Shen Yuexin and said, "Come on." Lin Shu nodded, hopefully in the top 50. Shen Yuexin held up her small and clean chin. "I've always had good luck." Lin Xiao shrugged and retracted his gaze, looking at the roulette wheel with 36 divisions in front of him, and began to draw the first card. "I want to draw a 5-star card." As soon as the voice fell, the different colored partitions of the golden roulette changed. The white, green and blue inside all disappeared, replaced by a purple-orange gold color, and there was also a partition emitting crystal light, which was an ancient quality 1 card. It's pure luck, but he has a guarantee. But before starting to draw, Lin Xiao looked up at the ball of light in the center of the square, and thought to communicate with the Rubik's Cube. The next second he looked happy. His golden finger did not disappoint him, and he was not banned, so it would be easier to handle. In fact, when he first heard this rule, he was muttering, and he held the magic cube in his hand. Could this rule be tailored for him? With the decomposition, refining, and fusion functions of the magic cube, it is possible to decompose, strengthen, and fuse a bunch of ordinary cards into powerful cards. Chapter 163 I'm all out of the way, I'm going to hang up. Even if there is no good fortune energy, it does not matter, there are so many cards, you can choose the appropriate targeted reinforcement from them. With a light touch of the finger, the roulette wheel began to spin, from slow to fast, to the extreme and then slow, and soon stopped on an orange card. Lin Xiao pondered for a while, and chose OK, not re-election. Except for the ancient card with only 1, the orange legendary card is between the lowest epic and the golden mythical card, and the middle level is not bad. Judging from the most purple, and only 5 or 6 golden mythical qualities, the probability of winning the gold card in the re-selection is not high, but the probability of winning the purple card is high. Of course, the main reason for Lin Xiao to keep this orange card is that this orange card is a class card. 504th level human crossbow shooters are equipped with a standard single-shot hand crossbow, a leather armor, and a short sword. Since it is a battle mode, the most important thing must be the class card, and then use other cards to cooperate. It can be combined with other arms, or better weapon cards to arm and so on. At the same time, considering that it is a direct battle, all the cards in the card pool are battle-related cards, and there are no useless cards such as resource cards. After all, these cards can only be used in this exchange match, and they must be taken back after the battle. If you keep this crossbow shooter card, it will take up 20 points of the card pool. If you replace it with ordinary players, you can only draw 5 5-star cards at most, even if the High School Alliance can only draw 6 cards. Generally speaking, the higher level cards are naturally more powerful, but sometimes you need to see if they are suitable, so you can't just draw high quality cards. Lin Xiao originally planned to draw a high quality unit card, and then draw a large number of low level cards to cooperate. After drawing all the cards, he would use the Rubik's Cube to decompose or fuse a few powerful cards to form a battle deck. Now that you have drawn a class card on the first card, there is no need to draw a 5-star card. Next, he drew 4 4-star cards and 8 3-star cards according to the original plan, plus the first 5-star card consumed a total of 100 card points, and the remaining 50 card points selected 10 2-star cards and spent 30 points. 21 star cards with only 1 card point, all 150 points are used up. There are a total of 43 cards of the 5 levels. The quality is sparse. More than half of them are whiteboards, and a small amount of rare and epic quality. Except for the original one, there is no legendary quality, but there is a myth quality card, however a 2-star card. A stack of cards is swiped in the hand to form a fan of different colors. Generally speaking, luck is not bad, but it is not good. If you don't open and hang it without additional advantages, you will definitely not be able to reach the end. It is estimated that the top 50 will be enough. After selecting the cards, there was still a period of free combination. He glanced at Lin Shu to the left. He was frowning at the dozen or so cards of different colors in his hand. At first glance, they were all 3-star cards or above, 1 or 2 stars. I don't want to. It seems that luck is not bad. There is a golden mythical quality card. According to his choice, it is at least a 3-star mythical card. It should not be bad. Looking at Shen Yuexin on the right, he leaned back subconsciously, and a few orange gold and a dazzling crystal light flashed into his eyes, blinding his eyes. Good guy, is this the legendary Emperor of Europe? Shen Yuexin seemed to be aware of his movements, and glanced at him with big eyes, holding the card and turning it back and forth as if he was holding a hand of the king's fried cards, showing off a little smug on his face. Lin Xiao looked left and right and no one noticed, closed his eyes and took a deep breath in her direction. Her pretty face turned red all of a sudden, and she said in a coquettish tone that she didn't even notice. What are you doing? It's nothing, take your breath. HMPH, rascal. Pinching the delicate little fist gesture, Lin Xiao stretched out his fist and touched it lightly. Come on, little ant. After speaking, she turned around and stopped looking at Shen Yuexin, who was a little confused. Covering his mouth and holding back his laughter, he cheered up and unfolded the cards. Lin Xiao began to study how to integrate the 43 cards in his hand. Due to the limitations of the competition rules, these 43 cards are all combat-related cards, such as class cards, summon cards, weapon cards, skill scroll cards, talent cards, and specialty cards. The battle is generally dominated by class cards, and most of them summon a group of organized arms. Most of the summoning cards are to summon some powerful but small number of creatures, such as a war bear, a giant eagle, a giant dragon, etc. Of course, 5-star cards cannot appear such big guys as giant dragons. Weapon cards are powerful weapons that can be obtained in varying amounts according to the level and card quality, and can replace the common weapons that come with the class card. Needless to say, skills, talents and specialties can be directly loaded on the troops or summons, and you can freely create unique troops. It is worth mentioning that, because of the particularity of the rules, if you get a class card and load it on a class, you don't need to start training at level 1, but you will automatically get a class level that is as high as your class level, such as Lin Xiao's 4th level. The crossbow shooter loads the crossbow shooter profession and can directly obtain the 4th level professional level. In addition, all players can also enter the battlefield, but they cannot directly participate in the battle and will not be attacked, but they are similar to a background commanding their subordinates. If there is a skill scroll, they can be released. Let's put it this way, you can refer to the heroes in the classic game called Heroes of Invincible 3 before Lin Xiao did not cross, but there is no bonus of hero attributes and talents to his subordinates. Lin Xiao put aside the 4 class cards, 6 summon cards, 11 weapon cards, and 11 skill or spell scroll cards. And some jumbled cards. First of all, there are 4 class cards. In addition to the crossbow shooter, there is also a 3-star whiteboard light infantry card, which can summon 103rd level human light infantry equipped with one-handed long swords, oak round shields, and rivet leather armor. An elite assassination card with a rare quality of 3 stars. It can summon a small team of 20 null assassins. It can be invisible. The level is 3. As well as a 2-star whiteboard quality goblin squad. There are 300 people, but the level is only 1 level, pure cannon fodder. The 6 summoning cards are to summon a 2-headed crocodile, and the level has reached the 5th level limit, which is only 1 step away from the 6th level extraordinary level. 4 large-scale water elements, which are 4 summoned by 1 card. The card level is 4, the rare quality, the water element level is 4, and the sum is not comparable to the double-headed crocodile. 2 large fire elements, this is a card that can only summon 2, and at the same time a 4th level card, but the quality of the card is obviously not as good as the previous summon water element card. There are also 4 summoning cards of 1 star and 2-star quality. The creatures summoned are of average strength and useless. In addition to these, weapons and equipment cards are nothing more than swords, bows, armors, etc. Anyway, the quality is definitely better than that of the arms cards. The remaining talent and specialty skill cards are not very high level and of average quality, but they are skills after all, and if used well, they can greatly increase the strength of subordinates. The only 2-star card with golden mythological quality is a Ring of Spells. Level 2 summon monsters enhanced. Normally this spell can summon a certain number of level 2 monsters, and this enhanced version can summon a group of level 2 monsters. The key is this magic props that can be used repeatedly. After counting the cards in hand, the next step is how to use the magic cube to decompose and strengthen. As I said before, although I need to consciously temper my willpower now, it does not conflict with opening the hook. The magic cube is my golden finger, how can I not use it? He is not so stupid to limit himself. First of all, he decomposed all the useless cards into the magic cube into the power of fortune, and used them as nutrients for strengthening the cards. Although the power of good fortune cannot turn corruption into magic like the energy of good fortune, there is no problem with simple strengthening. And then, Lin Xiao thought about it for a while, and disassembled the summoning water elemental card and the summoning double-headed alligator card as the power of good fortune. Then take out the summoned fire element card and put it into the magic cube to decompose it, fuse the 2 large fire elements that should have been summoned, and then put all the power of creation obtained from the decomposed cards into this card to start strengthening. His plan is very simple. Simply strengthening other arms cards and the like will not bring about qualitative changes, but it will be different if you can use these summoning cards to summon a super large fire element at an extraordinary level. Generally speaking, only 5-star mythical quality or higher cards can summon extraordinary level creatures, plus randomness. The number will definitely not be many. A super large fire element of extraordinary level is definitely standing out on the battlefield, extraordinary. The result was as he expected. Using dozens of messy cards as nutrients, all the summoning cards were decomposed to support this fire element summoning card, and the new card fused was indeed a 5-star, golden mythical quality summoning card. Summons a super-sized fire elemental of extraordinary level. Lin Xiao immediately listed this card in the battle deck. Then, take out the 3-star whiteboard that can summon 100 light infantry cards, and take out a 2-star rare quality weapon card containing 150 armors, and a 200 low quality steel one-handed sword. 2-star weapon card, 3 cards are fused to get a rare quality 3-star class card. There were still 100 human infantrymen, but after equipping them with weapons and thick armor, they turned into 100 heavy infantrymen, which happened to be used for the front row of 500 crossbow archers. It is a pity that there is no shield weapon card, and it is still equipped with an oak round shield. This card, together with the 5-star legendary quality class card Strongbow Archer, is used as the starting deck, plus the super large fire elemental summoning card, and his 3 starting decks are formed. This wave of combat power is quite powerful, and it is estimated that it will be no problem to hit the top 100 all the way. According to the current number of people, it is estimated that it will take 5 wins to enter the top 100 at that time. During the period, the opponents will win at least 5 and at most 15 cards. I hope that there will be some good things to cooperate with the remaining cards. Chapter 164 Amazing Defeat Rate. After confirming the deck, Lin Xiao selected on the light screen interface in front of him that it was ready and started matching. The screen in front of him changed into a chaotic vortex that was constantly distorted. In less than 2 seconds, a golden light shot out from the distorted chaotic vortex. Lin Xiao only felt a trance of consciousness and appeared in a boundless void. At a glance, he saw a golden light in front of him that was falling as fast as himself. Come to a virtual plane. Please place the scheduled deck within 1 minute. So fast. I took a look at the plane terrain first. Unlike the previous summer camp, there was no terrain choice, only a random option. Neither he nor his opponent should be able to choose, only random. Good guy, this is to carry out luck to the end. Set the activation order of the 3 cards that were prepared earlier, and confirm. After more than 10 seconds, the other party confirmed the same. Lin Xiao only felt that his consciousness quickly sank into the plane. This is a very ordinary hilly terrain, with a length and width of 3 kilometers. You can see the white light pouring down face to face, turning into countless figures and covering the ground. Lin Xiao watched from a distance, and there were actually 3,000 first-level frogmen and a team of about 300 third-level bear goblin knights on the opposite side. This configuration is a bit powerful. Although the level of frogmen is not high, but there are many ants will kill elephants. If he can't open the hang, Lin Xiao finds that he really wants to defeat the opponent. Well, it's still quite easy. After all, 500 crossbowmen are quite powerful. At the beginning, Lin Xiao only activated 500 crossbowmen and 100 heavy infantry. The super large fire element was not summoned, but it could be summoned at any time in the combat deck. Cards outside the deck could not be used in this battle. His opponent was an ordinary white young man. After summoning his subordinates, he immediately looked up and looked at the other side. When he saw that the number of his opponents was only 500 or 600, he was full of confidence and thought the victory was in his hands. He laughed from a distance and said, "It seems that your luck is very bad, then I'm welcome." Lin Xiao glanced at the other party, folded his arms around his chest and said, "I have 500 crossbow shooters and 100 heavy infantry. Although your subordinates are many, most of them are cannon fodder. I can't think of any reason why you think you will win. Just those 300 wild boar riders." Certainly. The white youth was so confident that Lin Xiao raised his eyebrows, and then he looked at the other side carefully. It was indeed a third-level wild boar knight, and there were no other hidden troops. How could he win me? I wanted to try again, but now the time has come. The 3-second countdown is over, and the battle begins. The white young man waved his hand immediately. 3,000 frogmen shouted and rushed over, followed by 300 wild boar riders, neither in a hurry nor slow. This combat intention made Lin Xiao not quite understand. But no matter what plan the opponent has, his operation here is very simple. 100 heavy infantry lined up in front of him, and 500 crossbow archers stood in 3 rows behind the heavy infantry, waiting for the enemy to approach. When the enemy approached to about 500 meters, the 3 rows of crossbowmen fired a round into the air at the same time, and the arrows shot up into the sky, drawing a long parabola and falling, and a few frogmen were shot to the ground. The throwing accuracy is still a little bit worse, and the first wave of accuracy is even worse. But after the second wave of arrow rain fell 5 seconds later, not only did the angle readjust, but the distance between the 2 sides was also closer. This wave of arrow rain caused huge damage. But there was no response from the other side, and they continued to charge. 6 consecutive waves of arrow rains killed nearly 1/10 of the opponent's frogmen, but the distance between the 2 sides was less than 100 meters. Lin Xiao quickly ordered the crossbow shooter to adjust the attack method. At the same time, the second row took the opportunity to go forward to continue shooting, and then retreated to the third row to shoot. This is a very common line-type queuing method of killing the enemy, which allows the single-shot hand crossbow to shoot in turn to achieve the effect of continuous attack. At least it seems that the effect is quite good now. A large number of frogmen have been shot and killed. The casualties in this short distance of 100 meters are much greater than the 6 rounds of projectiles just now. But what makes Lin Xiao puzzled is that the opponent doesn't seem to be in a hurry and just watches his subordinates continue to die. The 300 wild boar riders are still behind. At this moment, A sly smile appeared on the face of the white man. In his hand, he took out a crystal staff that looked very gorgeous, like a clenched fist, and slammed it on the ground. One of the 5 fingers held by the crystal staff was on the ground. A gem embedded in a knuckle exploded, and the void above the 300 wild boar riders was twisted and deformed, and the 300 wild boar riders disappeared out of thin air. I lost. Teleportation staff. You don't even need to look at the teleportation point, Lin Xiao, to know what the other party's plan is. Sure enough, a large invisible distortion appeared directly in the group of crossbow shooters. 300 wild boar knights were directly teleported into the crowd, and their hands fell. Although the level of the crossbow shooter is higher than that of the wild boar knight, all the strength of the crossbow shooter lies in long-range shooting, and the melee combat ability cannot be expected at all. Where can it stop the bear goblin swinging the knife and the wild boar taking turns to bite, and the 3 rows of formation are instantly disturbed? Gotta mess up. The white man laughed when he saw this. Looks like you're going to lose. Not necessarily. Lin Xiao directly took out the scroll wrapped in red light and activated it. The sky was twisted and opened, and a fireball the size of a house was drilled out of it. The flames slowly rose in the sky, condensing a super large fire element with a body size of more than 15 meters. The formed fire element roared in the sky, and a faint flame of aura quickly spread, and the grass on the ground quickly turned yellow and black and burned, turning into a land of flames with a diameter of more than 100 meters. This is impossible. The white man stared at the huge fire element like he had seen a ghost. Kill them. As Lin Xiao stretched out his hand, the arms formed by the super large fire element flames 4 or 5 stories high rose high, the sky quickly turned red, and countless fist-sized fireballs fell from the sky and smashed into the frog crowd. Fire Rain is the most powerful spell mastered by the 6th order super large fire element, which can summon a large rain of fire from the sky to burn the enemy. Waves of fire rain ignited the frogman's body. The magic flame was far more powerful than ordinary fire. A large number of frogmen were burned to death, and their morale soared and collapsed and fled. Although it is a summoned army, it is also true, how can it be stopped in the face of such terrible magic and battle damage? As soon as the frogman fled, Lin Xiao immediately ordered the 80 or 90 heavy infantry left to return to support the crossbow shooter. The super large fire element's arms were raised again and shed a large amount of red light, blessing all infantry with a fire shield that can reflect fire damage, and blessing the blade with fire damage. The next battle was not so turbulent. Even if the boar knight killed all the crossbow shooters, but was also killed by several waves of super large fire elemental spells, he still won. The battlefield they are in is virtual, and the death of the soldiers will not affect the next battle, and they will all be full later. At the end of the battle, a turntable appeared in front of Lin Xiao. He knew that this was the opponent's card pool. According to the rules, he could draw 1 to 3 cards from the opponent's card pool to supplement his own. Reaching out and pressing the center of the roulette turned rapidly, and after more than 10 seconds, the speed slowed down until it stopped, and 2 new cards appeared in front of him. Is acceptable. He carefully checked the 2 cards. One was a 3-star whiteboard quality boar rider card, and the other was a 2-star summoning card, which could summon a small group of wolves and could be ignored. It's a pity that I didn't draw that teleportation card, otherwise it would have been fun. Next, after defeating an opponent, he can also choose a card to add to the battle deck. Lin Xiao pondered for a while, took out the boar rider card, and the 2-star whiteboard goblin card. These 2 cards summoned goblins, and the bear goblin was also a goblin, so they could be fused. After the fusion of the 2 cards, it is a rare quality troop card of Samsung, which can summon 300 goblin bears and 300 ordinary goblin cannon fodder. Although the increased combat power is not much stronger, it is not a big increase in strength, but this pile of cannon fodder can just buy more time for the 500 crossbow archers, and the 100 heavy infantry is still too few to stop the enemy at all. Attack. Besides, he has nothing good, and others have nothing good. Everyone has limited card points, and there are not so many advanced card combinations. After a short rest, Lin Xiao did not leave the battlefield and continued to match the second opponent. In the square of the god's tomb, as time went by, the first round of battles were divided. After defeating the first opponent, Lin Shu returned to the square after re-preparing his consciousness, and found that there were more than half of the players in the surrounding Huasha district. At least more than 2/3 of the players were directly defeated in the first round, and he was shocked by the huge gap. Compared with the relaxed, talkative and laughable players in the high school league, the Huasha district was quiet, the air was extremely heavy, and everyone was unwilling and unconvinced. If you say that your skills are not as good as others and you lose, or that you are really lucky, you can accept it. The problem is that you have a disadvantage in the game from the beginning, and you are very unwilling to lose. But the rules are like this: who said that the owner of the Tomb of the Gods is not his own? Lin Shu had nothing to do about it. Although he also had the advantage and his luck was not bad, the sum was not bad, but he was sure that he would never make it to the end. After looking around again, Lin Xiao and Shen Yuexin were still there, which meant that neither of them were eliminated, which was somewhat comforting. He is not very optimistic about Lin Xiao. He has seen that his card pool is not much stronger than himself, but he is very optimistic about Shen Yuexin. She is very lucky. She initially has an ancient god card, plus a few gold and orange cards. It is quite possible to go to the end and win the Tomb of the Gods. He felt that the hope of Huasha district lay in her. With a hint of comfort, Lin Shu's consciousness sank and began the second round of challenges. In the virtual plane, after carefully observing the strength of the opponent's troops, Lin Xiao summoned the super large fire element in front of the crossbow shooter at the beginning, and further ahead were 1,000 heavy infantry and 300 cannon fodder goblins, and the other 300 bear goblins were early. Leaving and going around from the other side forced the other side to separate a part of their troops for defense, lest he would sneak around and attack the archer's phalanx. Chapter 165: Super Large Fire Element and Meteor Fire Shower. This opponent's strength is obviously stronger than the previous one. There is a half-elf shooter with the same 500 people. There are about 1,000 ice wolves living in the polar ice plains. What worries him most is that this guy has one small group of mammoths. This is a very powerful beast. It is 4 meters tall and 7 or 8 meters long. No tank can describe its strength. Its strong physique and terrifying power make it start at level 5. Fortunately, there are not many, only 10, and there are no super-level mammoth beasts. Facing such an opponent, it is very difficult to fight from the front. Even if he has a super large fire element at the extraordinary level, the 10 mammoth beasts are too fierce. Even the extraordinary fire element can do nothing for a while. These 10 mammoths are probably a 5-star card of mythical quality. While envious, the movements in his hands were not slow, and he ordered the rest of the troops except the wild boar knights to shrink and stand ready. No way, the front is tough. He shrunk here. With 10 mammoth beasts and 500 and a half-elf shooters, Conan of 1,000 direwolf pack laughing loudly, waving his big hand to attack the whole army, and pressing him up front. The huge mammoth beast stepped on the ground and kept shaking, giving the enemy a shock, and the weak creatures would naturally feel fear in the face of such a behemoth. Although Conan believed that he had the chance to win, he was not careless. Mammoth's charge speed was not fast at first, and it did not lose touch with the rear army. It didn't start charging at full speed until the distance from the enemy was reduced to 500 meters. Compared to Conan's self-confidence that he had the chance to win, Lin Xiao didn't think he would lose. When the mammoth began to charge faster, he immediately ordered the troops to retreat in 2. Conan was stunned for a moment and showed the expression that I had seen through everything. After thinking for a while, the corner of his mouth curled into a smile, and the commander mammoth also chased after him in 2. I have seen through your plan, but I will do as you wish. See if you kill my mammoth first, or I kill your fire element first. So confident, Lin Xiao grinned. What Conan said was exactly what he thought. That's what his plan was. With the super large fire element's flame spell at the extraordinary level, he would first defeat the opponent's troops except the mammoth, and then the rest of the troops would use the kite. Tactically kill 10 mammoth beasts one by one. Unexpectedly, the opponent also thinks the same way, and cooperates like this, which is embarrassing. But after being embarrassed, he was secretly happy. I don't know if this opponent is too confident in his 10 mammoths, or if he despises the extraordinary fire element too much, and dares to fight against himself. This is really self-defeating. Everyone cooperates like this, so he naturally has to cooperate, ordering the main force to continue to retreat to open the battlefield, so as not to wait too close and wait for Conan to go back at any time. With a thought, the huge flame of the super-large fire element lifted its arms and dripped down like water. The sky was red, and the fire rain covering a range of hundreds of meters fell from the sky and sprinkled on the polar ice wolf. The fire rain technique does not require continuous casting. The super-large fire element waved again, and a large flame rose from the ground to form a wall of fire that was 2 meters wide and 50 or 60 meters long. The polar ice wolves, who were escaping from the fire while charging under the fire and rain, immediately separated from left and right in fear and wanted to bypass the fire wall. This was their nature. However, Conan later forced the polar ice wolves to rush through the wall of fire. After a brief hesitation, the large group of ice wolves ordered their instincts to rush into the wall of fire and were burned and howled. The polar ice wolf is a type of wolf that lives on the polar ice plains. It just lives there and doesn't have any ice-type talent. It is just more cold-resistant than ordinary wolves, and it is equally afraid of the flames. Of course, the ice wolves who went one after the other were burned to death when they passed through the fire wall, and the corpse suppressed a part of the flame for the latecomers to force through. You need to summon more walls of fire, otherwise you won't be able to stop my subordinates. Conan is very confident. He remembers that the number of spells that fire element can cast is limited. Fire rain can only be cast 3 times a day, which is equivalent to a battle in the challenge. Other fire spells are used 3 to 10 times. Even if they add up, it is impossible to kill them all. And the 10 mammoth beasts rely on their own powerful physique and strength, but there is no limit to the number of spells. Of course Lin Shao understood this, but he still did it. Summon Fire Elemental. The huge super-large fire element raised its arms again, and a huge flame vortex took shape, and the lava sea of fire on the opposite side of the vortex was vaguely visible. The flames ignited the ground to form a large sea of fire. The super-large fire elemental used all the summoned fire elements that could be used 3 times a day in one go. A total of 6 large fire elements of level 5, 14 medium fire elements of level 4, and 30 or 40 small fire elements of level 3 were summoned. So many fire elements gathered together to form a huge high-temperature force field. The ground weeds were burnt, and the soil was faintly red with signs of melting. As the super-large fire element raised its head and screamed, the fire elements that were scurrying around gathered towards it to form a sea of fire, and endless flames gathered towards it. The air began to twist with it as the center, and a heart-pounding breath slowly took shape. The power of this power made Conan's face change, and he said in surprise, "You are impossible." "What's impossible?" Lin Shao smiled slightly, and the heart-pounding aura below had swelled to the extreme, turning into a thick column of fire that shot up into the sky, and a circle of flames exploded and quickly extended to the edge of the entire plain thousands of meters away. Then, a wave of meteor fires that covered almost the entire plain fell from the sky. Conan people are stupid, and the world is clean. Meteor fire rain is an upgraded version of fire rain. It is a high-level spell close to legendary spells. Generally, only the 7th order high-level supernatural wizards or legendary wizards can use them. The 7th order elite fire elements can also be used, but the 6th order super-large fire elements certainly cannot be summoned. But Lin Shao asked the supernatural fire element to summon a large number of fire elements, and then borrowed the power of all the fire elements to temporarily overclock and overstep the order to summon the meteor fire shower. The consequence is that half of Conan's ordinary arms are directly burned to death, and the rest are all burned, while the super-large fire element is a breath of life, loses the ability to cast spells, and all summoned fire elements also return to the fire element plane. As for Lin Shao's subordinates, they ran to the edge of the plane to avoid this indiscriminate meteor shower when they separated from the battlefield just now. Although there are still half of the troops left in the southern part, almost all of them are burnt, their combat effectiveness has dropped sharply, and they are definitely not their opponents. As for the remaining 10 mammoths, it is very troublesome, but it is only trouble. After all, there are only 10, so it is enough to fly a kite. I don't know if it's inflation or what. It is estimated that it is his own advantages and the victory that made him inflated. If he doesn't make good use of his own advantages, he still pretends to be forceful. Although Mammoth is powerful, This tank-like beast is not flexible at all. Flying a kite for a while will not cause much damage. The big deal is to throw some troops to entangle it and let it kill. The rest of the assembly, especially the 300 bear goblin wild boar, the knights were quick and fast, and they quickly cut into the battlefield to kill all the half-elf shooters who were crippled by a wave of meteor showers, and then kill the remaining snowfield ice wolves one after another. In the end, they fought hard for 2 hours, mainly because it was too time-consuming to grind the 10 mammoths to death. This guy's skin is thick and fleshy and his vitality is comparable to that of a big naga. After the crossbow arrows shoot through the thick fur, there is no harm. Hundreds of arrows shot on the body are only superficial wounds, not bones at all. In the end, it took 2 hours to grind, and it was difficult to kill by risking close-up shooting of its eye area. When the last mammoth fell to the ground, Lin Xiao exhaled heavily. Too difficult. Defeating the opponent is another exciting card draw session. He slapped the roulette wheel hard, and a golden card appeared in front of him. Lin Xiao was stunned for a moment, then overjoyed, and said in disbelief, "Damn it, our luck broke out. Gold represents mythical quality. The only card in the opponent's hand that is of mythical quality is the 10 mammoth beasts. Is this drawn?" This is indeed the case. He did draw the mythical mammoth card from Conan's hand. Although only one was drawn this round, there is a saying that is well concentrated as the essence. Needless to say, this card must be added to the battle deck. With a very excited palm, I chose to continue matching. This time, it took almost a minute to match successfully. After entering the challenge plane, all 5 cards were put in place in one breath, and the super large fire element of the extraordinary level was directly summoned. When a super large fire element with a height of 15 meters and 10 tank-like mammoths were in place, his opponent was immediately dumbfounded. Before he came out of the joy of winning the last battle, he discovered that GG was basically announced in advance before this battle. No need for tactics, the whole army charged directly, 10 mammoths lined up in a row to push flat, 300 bear goblin wild boar riders circled behind, 100 heavy infantry guarded 500 crossbow shooters to advance rapidly, and several waves of extraordinary fire elements rained down on the opposite side, crashed directly. The battle was over in less than 15 minutes, and they directly rolled over and won the 3rd round. Defeating this opponent and drawing the lottery again, this time I actually drew the highest 3 cards, and the level and quality are not bad. A 4-star rare quality skill card, ground slash, charge up for 1 second, and slash forward with a high penetrating sword that is equivalent to twice its own attack and is 5 meters long. A 3-star rare quality summoning card, alchemy gunpowder, summon 10 barrels of alchemy gunpowder. A 3-star epic weapon card, bed crossbow battalion, summons 5 bed crossbows and corresponding operating soldiers. Looking at these 3 cards, Lin Xiao fell into contemplation. Which card should be added to the deck next? In other words, which cards should be decomposed and merged into more powerful cards? Although it is said that the last battle was directly crushed without thinking, it does not mean that it can be won all the time. The next battle is the 4th round, and it has entered the late stage. The players who can stay at this time are all lucky players. There are powerful cards, and you need to pay more attention to win. P.S. Hey, this volume is coming soon. Chapter 166 Fusion Self-Exploding Assassin. Check your existing cards, even if you add the cards you have drawn before. There are only 11 remaining, which are the 2-star mythical quality spell ring, the 3-star rare quality null assassin class card, the 2-star whiteboard summoning card summoning the wolf, and the 4-star whiteboard summoning card. The rare quality skill card slash, the 3-star rare quality summon 10 barrels of alchemy gunpowder, and the 3-star epic quality bed crossbow card summons 5 ballistas. These are the ones that have a little value, and the rest are useless garbage that can only be decomposed and used as nutrients. Now the question is, how to fuse a suitable powerful card from these 11 cards. Lin Xiao pinched his chin and thought about it for a long time. The limited number of cards were not unified. It seemed that the fusion could not bring out anything good. To be precise, you can't fuse cards that are too strong. Or, can it be this way? The null assassin adds the skill ground slash, and the two merge to become the null assassin with this skill. Or fuse Earth splitting into the rare 4-star heavy infantry card, so that it comes with this skill. Or, Lin Xiao looked at some of the cards and a strange idea suddenly appeared in his mind, squinted and thought for a while, and said, "Can you give it a try?" As soon as he said it, he first picked up the 2-star mythical quality spell ring. This card has a magic ring sealed with a 2nd level spell, the 2nd level monster summoning enhancement, which can be used 20 times a day. Summons a small group of tier 2 monsters at a time. Although it is mythical quality, it is a little tasteless to only summon 2nd level monsters. But what if you change it? Lin Xiao had a bold idea in his heart. He first summoned the 2 Constellation Wolf summoning cards. Wait a minute, or you can. He put away the Warg summoning card, took out another Null Assassin card, took out the Alchemy Gunpowder summoning card and threw it all into the cube space, disassembled the cards, and then fused them together. Remove all weapons and equipment, and carry a bucket of alchemical gunpowder each. So, a summoning card that can summon a self-destructing assassin with an explosive barrel on his back came out. But this was not enough. He took out the Ring of Spell card and threw it into the magic cube, and then threw all the remaining garbage cards into it to decompose it into nutrients. Taking the Ring of Spell as the core, he summoned the 2nd level monster from the Ring of Spell. Summoning spell removed, replaced by summoning self-destructing assassin. Then all the garbage cards are decomposed into nutrients to strengthen, and finally a 3-star mythical quality arm card, self-destruction assassin is obtained. Effect: summons 20 self-destructing assassins who are not afraid of death, use 10 times a day. So far, the 6th position of Lin Xiao's battle deck has been filled, so he has no other cards in his hand besides these 6 cards. 20 once, 210 times, 200 sneaky self-destructing assassins. Hey, Lin Xiao chose to match his opponent for the 5th time with secret thoughts. This time the speed was very fast, and he had already matched the opponent in less than half a minute. He entered the plane and observed the opponent for the first time. 2,000 gnolls, 1,000 goblins, 3,000 kobolds. That's a lot of cannon fodder. But his attention was quickly attracted by a stone man standing at a height of 10 meters in the back. It turned out to be a large-scale granite puppet of the 6th order extraordinary level. The whole body was composed of granite, and it was unbelievably hard. However, this was not the strongest. Lin Xiao soon saw that behind the granite puppet, there was a huge battalion of bed crossbow. A full 100 bed crossbow carriages were lined up, and the sharp arrows exuded a cold metal light. This lineup is a bit solid. According to the opponent's paper lineup, at least 4 5-star cards are required to discharge an army of this size, and it is estimated that all 5-star cards will be selected at the beginning. It was quite difficult for Lin Xiao to deal with it in the last round, and he might lose if he was not careful, but this time it was different. At the beginning of the battle, the huge formation on the opposite side began to move forward, but Lin Xiao ordered the central army to stay still, and 300 goblin bears and boar riders came out to the right to attract the attention of the opponent. At the same time, he quickly summoned 200 self-destructing assassins. It entered a stealth state with an explosive barrel on its back and went around to the left. The opponent's main ballista was slow, which gave him plenty of time. The boar knight hung far away from the ballista's shooting range to attract the opponent's attention. The sneaky self-destruction assassin quietly circled from the other side to not far from the ballista. Lin Xiao ordered the entire army to charge, 10 huge mammoths. The beast charge immediately attracted all the attention of the opponent, the ballista stopped, and a large number of auxiliary soldiers began to wind up. Mervyn stood in the air and stared at the battlefield with his arms crossed. He was quite confident in his lineup. As long as he guarded the ballista battalion, no matter how powerful the enemy was, he would hate it. Although this opponent's lineup is strong, it is also useless. The powerful bed crossbow is designed to defeat large creatures. He didn't find the self-destructing assassins in stealth. At this time, they just came to this virtual battlefield with a little consciousness, and they didn't inherit the powerful strength of divine creatures, so they couldn't see through stealth and other skills. Therefore, when one of the 10 mammoth beasts in the front row crashed into the dog-headed crowd, Lin Xiao immediately ordered the 300 wild boar riders to charge the ballista battalion to attract attention. Block them. Mervyn immediately ordered a team of gnolls who were guarding the ballista camp to rush up. At the same time, a yellow light flashed on the granite puppet in the middle army. A layer of yellow light appeared on the boar rider, and it quickly slowed down. The jackal was rushed up. People stopped right. Mervyn immediately controlled the granite puppet. The 10-meter-high rock giant raised his arms and slammed it on the ground. With a bang sound, ripples spread under the feet of the wild boar knights. They pulled out countless sharp stalagmites from the ground, and assassinated several people on the spot. 10 wild boar riders, the rest are stuck and limited. Ha ha ha, your cavalry. Boom boom. The violent explosions one after another interrupted his words. Mervyn's face changed greatly and he turned his head, seeing that his most important ballista battalion was caught in a violent explosion. One by one, figures emerged from stealth, carrying a large bucket of potent alchemical gunpowder and rushed into the ballista battalion to detonate. In less than 10 seconds, the entire army of 100 ballista battalions was wiped out, and the self-destructing assassin appeared less than 50. Individual. It's a bit powerful. Lin Xiao clicked his tongue and praised his flash of inspiration just now. As soon as the core ballista battalion was destroyed, Merwin's strength was directly reduced by half. At this time, Lin Xiao ordered the super-large fire element to prepare to cast fire rain. An hour later, as more than 50 self-destructing assassins swarmed up, an earth-shattering explosion sounded, and the 10-meter-high granite puppet burst alive, and the 7 mammoth beasts that survived swarmed up and down, the cracked puppet, torn apart. Cool. Lin Xiao was in a good mood for another game easily. He happily clicked on the card draw interface and clicked on it, and there were 3 more cards. A 5-star kobold unit card can summon 3000 kobold cannon fodder. A 4-star goblin class card can summon 1000 goblin cannon fodder. A 5-star gnoll unit card can summon 2000 gnoll cannon fodder. Good guy, all 3 cannon fodders are alive. Lin Xiao was a little speechless. It was a bit against his heart to say it badly. 2 5-star cards and 1 4-star card would be considered a lot of luck, but they were all cannon fodder. There is no way, I can only use it, and the fusion method is very simple, all fusion into the rare quality of the 3-star bear goblin wild boar knight card. Incorporate the goblin cannon fodder card into it, and then decompose the other 2 into nutrients, and finally get a 5-star rare quality summoning card, cannon fodder camp. Effect. Activate the card to summon 3000 kobold cannon fodder, 2000 gnoll cannon fodder, 2000 goblin cannon fodder, and 300 bear goblin boar riders. After fusing the cards, Lin Xiao found that there was still a free spot in his battle deck but no cards to use. Ready to continue matching. Next is the 5th round. As long as you win this round, you can enter the top 100, which is very crucial. After waiting for a full 15 minutes of matching, he thought he had no opponents before matching an opponent. When he entered the plane and saw his opponent, Lin Xiao laughed after being stunned for a few seconds. The opponent this time is an undead army with a number of more than 30,000, controlled by a dozen necromancers, and there are no other arms. In other words, there were originally other types of arms, but they all turned the opponents into undead. A single undead is not strong, but if there are enough of them, it is terrible, especially now. Even Lin Xiao took 3 high-level cannon fodder cards to fuse with only 7,000 cannon fodder, and the more than 30,000 cannon fodder on the other side was even more terrifying. It's a pity that he has more than 7,000 cannon fodder. Lin Xiao would be a little fortunate that the last draw was 3 cannon fodder cards, and there were enough cannon fodder to resist buying time. If it was still like the last round with only a few hundred cannon fodder, the army of more than 30,000 undead would be unable to stop it. Although the transcendent fire element has an overclocking explosion, it will be useless when it is used up, and it is impossible to completely destroy the opponent. The dozen or so necromancers are not vegetarians. Now, it's still the same as last time, attracting firepower from the front, and 200 self-destructing assassins sneak past. Considering that the necromancer's perception is too high, he may find the sneaking assassin. He ordered the supernatural fire element to summon a large number of fire elements to prepare for the ultimate move. The terrifying power immediately attracted all the attention of the necromancer, so that the self-exploding assassin approached the target smoothly. Although the necromancers reacted instantly, it was too late. Then, there was a wave of earth-shattering self-destruction that killed 90% of the necromancers. At the same time, the meteor fire rain summoned by the extraordinary fire element overclocking did not resist the necromancer and caused huge damage to the undead army. In the square of the god's tomb, Lin Shu came back to his senses with a tired face, and pinched his eyebrows. The close battle just now took a huge amount of his mind. The strengths of the two sides are almost the same. He can only gain a little advantage slowly by virtue of fine command, and then gradually expand the advantage after accumulation, and finally win with difficulty. Fortunately, after the victory, a very powerful card was drawn, otherwise he really had no confidence that he could continue to win in the next wave. There are more than 100 people in the square, but there are less than 20 players representing the Huasha district. The rest are all players from the college league. Their initial advantage is really too great. Chapter 167 Ancient God Card, Undead Legion Card. When Lin Xiao opened his eyes, he happened to see Lin Shu's anxious eyes. He glanced at the situation in the surrounding square and immediately understood what was going on. Lin Shu also found that he woke up and asked in a low voice. "How are you now?" He compared a big finger. "Steady. How about you?" Lin Shu nodded and said, "I'm all right. I just drew a top quality card. As long as I don't encounter other unlucky ones, I should be able to make it into the top 50 for another round. How about you?" Lin Xiao's mouth twitched, and he couldn't help laughing out loud. "Pretty good. I beat the undead player just now. I don't know if it was because of luck or because the rules of the game gave priority to drawing high-quality cards, and directly drew the opponent's undead mage card. A total of 3 cards were drawn, except for the necromancer card, the other 2 were weapon cards. The weapon card is useless, but the necromancer card is very good, because it is an ancient quality card, which includes 12 5th-level necromancers. Of course, just 12 5th-level necromancers are not good enough for the ancients, but what if there are more than 33,000 undeads whose strength is between the 1st and 2nd level? This is a special card, and the undead controlled by the necromancer are part of this card. The most buggy part is that the opponent killed by the undead army on the battlefield will be awakened by the necromancer to become a part of the undead army, which means that this card will become stronger and stronger with each battle. Of course, if the undead dies on the battlefield, the dead undead will be gone after the end of the battle, which can be regarded as a limitation of this card, otherwise it will be too perverted. This is also the main reason why this card can accumulate as many as 33,000 undead, otherwise it is impossible to get so many cannon fodder undead under normal circumstances. The last opponent turned all the core cards in his hand into undead, and wanted to accumulate a huge army of undead to sweep away. Unfortunately, he encountered Lin Xiao's self-destructing assassin team. Holding this card in his hand, Lin Xiao had a bunch of tricks in his heart. Lin Shu was worried about the disadvantages of the Huasha district, but he didn't think so much. The absolute disadvantage is normal, and he has no power to change it. He can only say that he will try his best to rank as high as possible. If he can become the first to win the Tomb of the Gods, he will be considered a winner. The price gives the opponent such a big advantage. You must know that with the initial advantage of the University Alliance, most of the top 100 rewards will be taken away by the University Alliance players, and most of these rewards are provided by the Huasha district. The main purpose is to give them a chance to compete for the Tomb of the Gods. Without these conditions, Major General Carey may not be willing to give them a chance to compete. Although the Tomb of the Gods was discovered in the Huasha area, Major General Carey's status was unusual, and they could not forcefully take away the Tomb of the Gods, they could only let the other party voluntarily. At this time, Shen Yuexin suddenly opened her eyes, and Lin Xiao asked, "How about little ant, how far do you feel like you can go?" Her beautiful eyes flashed and her eyelashes trembled slightly, as if she was a little sensitive to this title, but she didn't say anything, smiled and said, "With Miss Ben's luck, the top 3 are not easily captured." "What about the first one?" "It's possible." Seeing her tone, the confidence is still satisfied. Lin Xiao immediately said, "Then we'll see you this time. I try my best. Looks like my aunt is lucky." Well, she was really lucky. She had an ancient god card at the beginning, and the subsequent winning draws were probably good things. He doubted whether she was a high-quality card with gold or orange quality in her hand. Looking around at the hundreds of people in the square, there are still 18 players left in the Washaw district who are not far from each other. They basically recognize them. They are all silver and gold players, and all players below this level are eliminated. Also, generally speaking, the so-called geniuses and elites have good luck, and they can't go very long without luck. What's interesting is that there are still 3 of the 5 people in Yumming Trading Company who have persisted. Judging from their confident appearance, they are probably lucky. Lin Xiao pinched his chin and thought, it would be fun if the 3 of them made it to the top 10 all the way to the end. It was quiet in the square. Those who could reach this round were basically elites with good temperaments. There were very few people who were arrogant and ignorant. Even if they had an absolute advantage, there were no players from the high school league who ridiculed them. Be a little wary of your companions. Because of the unequal numbers of the two sides, there will be many civil wars between the players of the college league to decide the ranking. Of course, this has nothing to do with Lin Xiao and the others. Anyway, they will continue to fight, and the opponents they will face will become stronger and stronger. The 3 chatted for a while to relax, and when another wave of players disappeared from the square, they started the next round of challenges again. Before starting the match, Lin Xiao first took out the undead mage card and put it into the magic cube, and then threw all the arms cards in his hand except 10 mammoths into the magic cube, and fused with the undead card, converting all cannon fodder and arms into the magic cube. Undead. But different from awakening the undead with a necromancer, the transformed undead will keep the occupation and weapons and equipment before his death. That is to say, 500 crossbow shooters are transformed into 500 undead crossbow shooters, instead of being transformed into skeletons or zombie cannon fodder like the transformation of the necromancer. Of course, the existing cannon fodder battalions do not need special transformation, and they will all be transformed into cannon fodder undead. Anyway, they were originally cannon fodder. In this way, this necromancer card will have more than 40,000 undead troops, including 100 undead infantry, 300 undead cavalry, and 500 undead crossbow shooters. After loading the necromancer card into the battle deck, Lin Xiao found that he only had 4 cards in his deck, but his strength more than doubled compared to the previous one. The match was successful in less than a minute, entered the battlefield, and secretly summoned the fire element and 200 self-destructing assassins according to the previous preset, and then. Of course, it's a flat A. What can the army of the undead have to do? Just circle the mouse and wave A in the past. 10 minutes later, with a loud bang, the self-destructing assassin sneaked to the enemy's rear and the main long-range main force exploded successfully, and this wave won again. Moreover, after the war, the necromancers awakened the opponents killed on the battlefield again. After deducting those killed in the battle, the final settlement resulted in more than 2,000 undead. In addition to the 2 cards drawn, there is a 5-star epic historical heavy cavalry card, which can summon 500 human heavy knights and be transformed into undead heavy cavalry by him. The combat power is stronger than that of flesh and blood. Various weaknesses of creatures. The various powerful spells and priest magic to restrain the undead are extremely rare in the challenge, and there are few cards in this regard. The other card is a 5-star card that summons earth elements. It can summon 4 large earth elements. It is directly equipped in the battle deck. Anyway, there are plenty of free card slots. In the 7th round, Lin Shu looked at the entire 3 super large fire elements with a height of more than 10 meters and a large number of large and medium-sized fire elements summoned the sky and rained down, turning the entire battlefield into a sea of fire, sighed and muttered. I tried my best. After speaking, he was eliminated from the game as the last subordinate was engulfed in flames. On another battlefield, Shen Yuexin embraced her arms to highlight the majestic outline of her chest. On the battlefield, 5 extraordinary mages joined together and summoned 4 huge meteor bursts to fall from the sky, erasing all the enemy's main force with one blow. 5 6th order archmages jointly cast spells and can cast any spells except legendary spells, which is simply too strong to have friends. On the plane where Lin Xiao was, he also welcomed his 7th opponent, a white boy who looked familiar. He thought about it carefully, and it seemed that he was from the high school alliances who were with Bart and Arya. The strong, equivalent to those elites in China who were second only to Wu Zonglin, seemed to be named Abelin. Abelin glanced at his troops, and then glanced at Lin Xiao's army of undead that was several times his own. There was no fear on his face, but he put his hands behind his back and said in a deep voice, "You are considered the strongest in the Huasha district if you can go this far, and it is not a shame to lose to you. HMPH, say no." Lin Xiao suddenly paused with a look of thought, and then received a prompt. "Your opponent abstains, you win. Question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark." A head full of question marks appeared above his head, and then he recalled what the other party said. This is to admit defeat and admit defeat. Put the most ruthless words, admit the most cowardly lose. At the end of the 7th round, when Lin Xiao returned to the Divine Tomb Square, there were only 18 people left, which meant that he had now entered the top 20. But what he didn't expect was that in this round, the selection ratio of the Huasha district has increased by a lot. 8 of the 18 people were selected by the Huasha district, and 10 were from the Ivy League College League. The one that surprised him the most was Yu Ming. The trading company even had 2 people left on the field. Looking at their excited expressions, they didn't look difficult. Could it be that this summer camp is going to be a blast? Lin Xiao had to sigh that luck is really hard to say. When fortune is together, it can't be stopped. It is true that they are not very lucky in life, otherwise they would not have been eliminated in school early to take risks in the outer domain, but when luck comes together, it is really riding the wind. Even these elite geniuses can't stop them, and they will enter the top 20. If you can win once, even if you lose later, you will be specially recruited by the military and your life and destiny will be completely changed. With a sigh of relief, Lin Xiao returned to the virtual plane and tapped the roulette with his finger to start drawing cards. As the light flashed and 3 cards unfolded in front of him, he was overjoyed, but the smile on his face immediately collapsed when he saw the contents of the 3 cards. A warrior class card that can load warrior classes for melee arms. A golden 5-star summoning card can summon a level 6 super large air element. A 5-star magic item card with purple light shining. It is a scroll made of silver leather, and a powerful defensive enchantment spell is sealed inside, which can summon a 100*100-meter defensive enchantment to resist damage. This is very embarrassing. There is not even a troop card. Soldier professional cards are completely useless. The only class card in his hand is 12 necromancers. The more than 40,000 undead are summons controlled by necromancers, and professional cards cannot be loaded. Chapter 168 Treasure in the Mouth of the Big Man. Another super large air element that summons extraordinary level is not bad. It can summon tornadoes and lightning, and its combat power is not inferior to fire elements. As for the last defensive enchantment card, it's not bad either. Defense, what can I say? The cards are all good, but they are a bit embarrassing in combination, because these cards cannot reinforce the original main undead army, and they are very tasteless in the current round of challenges. However, this doesn't mean that he can't fight, it's just a tasteless thing for him. Whether it's a super level air element or a defensive enchantment, it's a good thing. Moreover, the Undead Legion card in his hand is really too powerful. After many trainings, it has become a supermodel card that exceeds the general ancient quality troops card. This is enough. After loading all the cards in his hand except the professional card, Lin Xiao bravely faced the opponent and started the 8th round of battle. And the fact is as he imagined, the opponent in the 8th round is an opponent with 3 super large fire elements, 12 5th level large fire elements, 70 or 80 medium fire elements, and several hundred small fire elements. In addition, there are more than 2,000 first level Murloc cannon fodder, more than 2,000 first level Kobold cannon fodder, more than 300 third level Murloc Tidecallers and Warlocks, 500 4th level human archers, and 500 werewolf warriors. After reading the composition of the arms, Lin Xiao had a good idea. If he guessed correctly, this opponent had an ancient quality fire elemental summoning card at the beginning, and summoned so many fire elements in one go. The other troops were all class cards drawn from previous battles, which seemed to be quite a lot, but in fact they couldn't compare to the fire elemental summoning card. That's it. With the strength of the opponent, as long as there are not some super powerful cards hidden, they should be able to beat them. Unconsciously, the combined strength of his film crew is already very powerful. At the beginning of the battle, Yossel ordered the entire army to charge. All the fire elements gathered around 3 super large fire elements of extraordinary level to start casting spells. First, they summoned 3 waves of fire elements in one breath to expand the scale of the fire elements, and then the sky changed. It was dark red, and the fire rain was falling. The 3 supernatural fire elements cast fire rain at the same time, and the coverage area is quite large. If other players face this move, they can only carry it hard, but Lin Xiao also has a super large fire element in his hand. He quickly summons 3 waves of fire elements to gather together, and at the same time casts a spell to cast flame defense for the undead shooters in the troops covered by the fire rain. Enchantment. At the same time, the other super large air element also casts air enchantment to resist the rain of fire for another important unit. As for ordinary cannon fodder, it doesn't matter. If you die, you will die. Anyway, the number is enough, and the main force is fine. The effect of a wave of fire and rain did not meet expectations, and the opponent frowned and began to command the troops meticulously. Lin Xiao smiled, ignoring the army of the undead who were attacking, and it was too troublesome to fine-tune the command. Under the control of Yossel, a large number of fire elements followed, and after approaching the casting distance, they summoned fireballs one by one and threw them into the undead group to bombard them. These fireballs are just ordinary fireball techniques, and the explosion range and power are far less than that of the pyrotechnic explosion. Of course, for the cannon fodder, the explosion range is the same as death. A small fire element can only throw 3 fireballs a day, a medium fire element 6, a large fire element 9, and Yossel has thousands of fire elements here, all of which are powerful enough to destroy the undead army, but a dozen undead mages will not watching the death of his subordinates. He began to approach the battlefield to jointly cast spells. Banishment banishes the creatures summoned through the spell back to the original world, so a large group of additional summoned fire elementals are banished back home to collect the lunch. The undead enchantment forms an enchantment with the help of the death breath emitted by the undead itself. The defense ability is not high, but it is no problem to resist several waves of fireballs. Weak. The power of death weakens the target. The aura of fear, combined with weakness and death, makes the enemy fear and morale drops. Bone shield, which uses the broken bones of dead skeletons to form a shield to resist physical and magic damage. The undead mage itself is not as powerful as the orthodox mage, but its effect on the battlefield is stronger than that of the orthodox mage, and it is easy to change the situation of the battle after various buffs and weakening spells are cast. Although Yossel's magic power is powerful, the fire element is not a mage and cannot dispel all kinds of undead spells. All the fire element companions summoned by his own fire element were all expelled, but all the fire elements summoned by Lin Xiao were still there. He also had to be thankful that the original fire element was summoned by a card and could not be dispelled, otherwise he would not be able to play after a wave of dispersal. However, as the necromancer exerted his strength, and waited until the sneaking self-destruction assassin touched the rear of the conventional army, a round of self-destruction killed all its long-range shooters, and the battle situation tilted again. Lin Xiao didn't choose to blow up the opponent's fire element. There were 3 supernatural fire elements there, and the self-destructing assassin couldn't get close. Anyway, when the other party's conventional forces are dead, the remaining fire element group will not be able to turn the sky. One thing surprised Lin Xiao. Until the end of the battle, the 3 tall and super large fire elements collapsed into a sea of fire, and the other party did not see the other party working together to overclock with a big move like himself. Although there is no additional fire element summoned, but there are so many fire elements to increase here, there is no reason why you can't cast spells beyond the level. Is it because my fire element is a special ability that comes from the fusion of multiple element summoning cards? Lin Xiao can only guess. After defeating Yossel, Lin Xiao has already entered the top 10. Not to mention, 2 extra card slots and an ancient god card are in hand. He opened the card drawing roulette with anticipation, and after an exciting turn, a solitary card appeared in front of him, but instead he was delighted, because the card radiated crystal light, and he took Yossel. The fire element card was drawn. Ancient 5-star summoning card. Sea of Flame. Each use, randomly summons 3 to 5 super large fire elements, 10 to 20 large fire elements, 50 to 100 medium fire elements, 300 fire elements from the Sea of Fire and Melting. to 500 small fire elementals. Good guy, this card is a bit better. Although it is not as good as the Undead Legion card, it is only inferior and also very powerful, and now it belongs to him. With the card in hand, Lin Xiao was very confident in the next game, so he returned to the Divine Tomb Square to take a look, but this look surprised him. At the end of the last round, there were only 9 players left. Originally, Lin Xiao wanted to see how many people were left in the Huasha district, to see if the Little Ant and Wu Zonglin were eliminated, but the result was beyond his expectations. The 9 players Huasha in addition to him, there are still 6, and there are only 3 left in the Ivy League. This contrast is astonishing. What surprised him even more was that the 2 remaining people from Yuming Trading Company were still there. The 2 were captains Li Cheng and Wang Jichao respectively. No matter what happens later, the 2 will definitely get special recruits and training from the military, and they have changed their destiny since then. This is quite rare, which means that they have a high chance of becoming a demigod, and a very small chance of becoming a true god in the future. The odds of changing from 1 in 100 million of an ordinary adventurer to 1 in 100,000 are just as small and pitiful, but at least it is much better than before. It is difficult for ordinary adventurers who were eliminated in high school to be promoted to demigods, let alone true gods. That is a possibility that can be ignored. History can prove that every year in the main world, hundreds of millions of eliminated students are born in the first year of high school, and the accumulation over the years is terrifying. But every year, less than 10 players from the divine realm who have been eliminated can be conferred gods. Most of them are supported by major forces, and it is rare to see them from being an ordinary adventurer for many years. This shows how difficult it is for God's domain players to confer gods. Of course, this does not include giving up the status of a player in the realm of God to become a pure belief deity with various restrictions similar to the native deities in a foreign realm. It is far less difficult for such aboriginal gods to be conferred gods than players of God realm. After all, as long as there is one godhead in hand, or enough believers, it is possible to confer gods with a little luck. And many indigenous gods are all lucky to obtain godheads and conferred gods, God. This kind of deity will be limited to the plane with the most believers, bound by belief, and its character is affected by clergy. But no matter how bad it is still a god, with a mortal life. Many players in the gods will choose to become indigenous gods when there is no hope of conferring gods. In the void outside the tomb of the gods, several mentors and many observers of the summer camp gathered together to watch the players in the square of the tomb of the gods pointing, talking, laughing, and a few mentors from the Ivy League colleges not far away. The ugly expressions are in stark contrast. This result was not only unexpected by Lin Xiao, but also by many tutors. At the beginning, the Ivy League had an absolute advantage. At the time of the biggest advantage, the number of the 2 sides fell below 8 to 2, but after entering the top 100 later, the gap between the 2 sides quickly approached, and the gap has reversed until the end of this round. That is to say, the Ivy League has an absolute majority in the top 100, but the reverse is true in the top 10. Mentors can't see the battle situation in the Tomb of God, but they can guess what their state is by the expressions of the players. Among the 6 players in the top 10 in Huasha district, apart from the 2 lucky ones from Yuming Trading Company, 2 of the remaining 4 were from her team and 1 from the War Throne team. There is a Wolf Tooth team, there is no Holy Crystal team, and there is no Grain. Of course, the good mood of the instructors of the Raging Flames team does not mean how bad the mood of the several mentors of the Holy Crystal team is. In fact, they don't care about winning or losing at this stage. It doesn't matter how many players in their team are ranked. The players from the Huasha district defeated all opponents to become the first place and became the successor of Major General Carey, the tomb of the ancient ancestor. As the team's mentor, they knew from the previous big man that there was a very special treasure in this tomb of God. The big man didn't tell them the specific treasure attributes, but repeatedly told them to go all out to get that treasure. P.S. Brothers, ask for a monthly ticket for 3 shifts. Chapter 169 False Flame Lord Culbert. Above the virtual plane, Lin Xiao looked at the 9 cards lined up in front of him and fell into contemplation. The cards he is holding now are of fairly high quality, 2 ancient quality 5-star god cards, 2 mythical quality 5-star cards, 1 3-star mythical card, 1 legendary quality 5-star card, 2 epic quality 5-star cards, and 1 rare quality 5-star card. And because it is a fusion of the advantages of a variety of cards, the effect of the fusion cards in his hand is generally stronger than that of the same kind. What he is thinking about now is to refuse some cards in his hand that are suitable for fusion, decompose the useless cards as nutrients to strengthen other cards, and try to make himself stronger to face the next enemy. It is foreseeable that the remaining 9 players, including him, all have ancient quality cards, and some may have more than 1 or 2, such as O Huang like Shen Yuexin. After thinking for a while, Lin Xiao first threw the warrior professional card into the magic cube and decomposed it. Although this card was of high quality, it was a little tasteless in this kind of competition. After that, he pinched his chin and thought for a while, and combined the 5-star card that summoned the 4-headed large earth element, the other mythical card that could summon the 6th level super large air element, and the original one that could summon the super large fire. The mythical card of the element, a total of 3 element summoning cards are thrown into the cube at the same time, and they are disassembled and refined. Then I took out the ancient summoning card, the Sea of Flames and Molten Sea, and put it into the Rubik's Cube to extract the core origin, and integrated the essence extracted from the previous 3 elemental summoning cards into it. After doing this, Lin Xiao pondered a little more, and put the 5-star mythical card that summoned 10 mammoth beasts into the Rubik's Cube. After hesitating for a while, he took out the gleaming undead army ancient god card. Lin Xiao's eyes flickered for a long time, and he had a very bold idea in his heart, whether it is possible to fuse these 2 ancient cards, use the Molten Sea of Flames to cover the undead army, and synthesize one that can summon the undead army with the characteristics of fire element. With the intention of trying, he put this ancient god card into the cube space, but he did not decompose it immediately, but first verified whether it was feasible through the creation of the magic cube. Closing his eyes a little, Lin Xiao opened his eyes with a surprised expression. The idea is indeed feasible, and the magic cube can indeed be done, but the premise is that there is enough fortune energy to change the rules and turn decay into magic. There's no way this can be done, he doesn't have the energy of creation in his hands. But in addition to his previous thoughts, the 2 cards can indeed be merged, but it can only be based on one of the cards, absorb the other card to greatly strengthen itself, and absorb 1 or 2 advantages of the other card. This made Lin Xiao hesitate. After thinking for a while, he still didn't make up his mind. He shook his head and said, "Let's talk later." The main reason is that he only knows that fusion is possible, but he cannot know the specific result of fusion in advance, so he does not dare to try randomly for the time being. Next, he merged the 3 elemental summoning cards and the mammoth summoning card into the Molten Sea of Flames, and then absorbed the nutrients from the decomposition of the professional cards. Finally, an ancient summoning card with more intense crystal light was released. Ancient 5-star summoning card Flame Molten Sea, summons False Flame Lord Culbert from the Flame Molten Sea, 5 to 8 super large fire elements, super large lava elements, flame behemoths, 15 to 31 large fire elemental, large lava elemental, flame beast, 80 to 120 medium fire elemental, medium lava elemental, 400 to 600 small fire elemental, small lava elemental. Note: affected by the Sea of Flames, the fire element has the highest probability of appearing, followed by the lava element. My dear, this is a hodgepodge. The summoned element is obviously affected by the fusion card. The lava element is formed by combining the fire element and the earth element, and the flame beast should be formed by the fusion of 10 mammoth beasts. As for the super large air elemental summoning card that was fused, it was not shown in the introduction. Lin Xiao guessed that the fire element and the air element are completely different from each other. It is estimated that there is no such special element in the heavens and the world. The fusion must follow the basic law, so it cannot be formed after being integrated into the Sea of Flames. According to his idea, this card is estimated to be it is regarded as a nutrient fortification. After all, this card can already summon a false flame lord. It was a total surprise. What is the Fire Lord? This is the Lord in the Fire Elemental plane. It is a Lord similar to the Death Lord and the Demon Lord. It is a personality and has nothing to do with strength. Powerful lords, such as demon lords occupying a level in the abyss, can be comparable to true gods in their own territory, while weak demon lords may not even be legendary. The same is true for the Fire Lord, who has the authority to command all the elements of fire in his domain. As for the false Flame Lord, it is an existence that has not yet fully obtained the authority of the Lord. Generally speaking, he has authority but lacks strength to convince the public. Lin Shao's ancient card of the Sea of Flames is estimated to be like this. This pseudo-flame lord named Culbert has the authority of the Lord, but his own strength is also only level 6, which is not enough to suppress all the flame creatures in the territory. When will his strength be going a step further? For example, reaching the legendary rank of 8 or more is eligible to become a true flame lord. Of course, this has nothing to do with Lin Shao. After all, this card is gone after the game. It hurts. It would be a lie to say that it is not a pity. It would be fun to have such a card. You can gradually strengthen a card that can summon a real flame lord as your whole card in the future. Or maybe try it later. Lin Shao rubbed his teeth, added the card to the battle deck, and chose to match his opponent. After merging a bunch of cards, he now has only 4 cards in the deck in his hand, which is pitiful compared to others. It didn't take long for the match to be successful, and the screen in front of me appeared in the sky on a larger virtual plane than before. As the game progressed to the later stage, the scale of everyone's troops became larger and larger, and the initial battle plane was difficult to accommodate. Now the battle plane became 10 kilometers by 10 kilometers, enough to accommodate all the forces of both sides. After entering the plane, Lin Shao habitually glanced at his opponent, and was stunned the next second, and his opponent was also stunned when he saw him, and the two exclaimed at the same time. "Shit, what's up with you?" Lin Shao immediately reacted after finishing. According to the fact that there are only 3 people in the 6-member college alliance in Huasha district, just like the previous college alliance, he will definitely be matched with his side in the civil war. His opponent this time was Li Cheng, the captain of the Dark Horse duo. He glanced at Li Cheng's troops and could only sigh that people's luck is really indescribable. Within the plane, Li Cheng's main force turned out to be a violent demon army with a total of 5,000. In addition, a pile of troops with more than 10,000 different types of arms were piled up, and their strength was quite strong. It's not that the army of more than 10,000 is terrible, even if it is above the 3rd level, and even the extraordinary creatures have 2 heads, but they are not as terrible as the 5,000 violent demon army. The strength of the Berserker is only level 4, but the question is whether it is a warlike demon or an organized demon army. The demon's strength has always been the leader of its kind, and it is quite terrifying to be armed in an established system. With these 5,000 violent demon legions, Li Cheng has swept all the way to the present. To tell the truth, if there is no newly acquired Flame Sea card, the army of the undead alone will definitely not be able to beat the opponent. No, if the Flaming Sea card has not been strengthened, it may not be able to play. Now, Lin Shao has absolute confidence to kill Li Cheng. The key is that false Flame Lord. The false Flame Lord is also a lord. Although he is only level 6, with him, the power of this card has been qualitatively changed. The two chatted while ranking the formation. Looking at Lin Shao, who was calm, Li Cheng had a smile on his face, but he attached great importance to this opponent in his heart, and his heart was full of anger. All the way through to the present, watching the school elites who used to look up to be defeated by himself, his mood is indescribable. He is eager to defeat more opponents, and he wants to beat all opponents to the top, the summer camp. Thousands of the strongest elites of the same generation in the college alliance all stepped on their feet, proving their abilities to everyone, and the so-called elites were nothing more than that. Especially now that he has entered the top 10, he only needs to defeat a few more opponents to reach the top. He carefully arranges his troops, looks at Lin Shao's seemingly huge army of undead, and bows his hands sincerely. "I'm still thinking about joining teachers at the end, but I didn't expect to meet them here first. Please give me more advice later." Oh, Lin Shao could hear the strong confidence in his words, and looked at Li Cheng's seemingly sincere but undisguised confidence, quite unexpectedly, and clasped his fists and hands with a smile that was not a smile. "It's easy to talk, let's communicate with each other." With a smile on his face, he retracted his hand to end the communication, and when the countdown to the start of the battle was over, he quickly activated the Flame Molten Sea card and began to summon it. As a huge flame vortex unfolded on the ground, the infinite flames flowed out of the vortex and quickly spread to the surroundings into a sea of fire, and a low voice echoed slowly in the plain. I am Culbert, the Lord of the Sea of Flames. The flame in the center of the vortex arched, and a flame giant with a crown of flames 20 meters high was drilled out of it. In the name of the Lord of the Sea of Flames, call my people. As the flame giant roared in a low voice, the flames and lava in the flame vortex spewed like a spring, and the outflow of infinite flame lava quickly expanded to a diameter of thousands of meters, and each flame creature drilled out of it and turned into one fire element or flame creature. Wow, it's spectacular. The power of this flame lord's appearance is more powerful than Lin Xiao imagined, but he doesn't know whether his specific strength is worthy of this appearance. The confidence in Li Cheng's heart was cut in half when the flame lord came on the stage. It's hard to say how strong he is, but the way he played with infinite force really shocked him, especially seeing the flame crown on Culbert's head. Confidently shouted, "How is this possible? How can a 5-level card summon a lord creature? Isn't this a demigod card that can only be summoned by a 6-level or higher demigod card?" His voice was not concealed in the slightest. Lin Xiao, who was on the other side of the virtual plane, heard it and said unexpectedly, "I said how is it a pseudo-lord, it turned out to be a card restriction." Chapter 170 The legendary spell that kills 1,000 enemies and loses 800. The lowest level of the real lord creature is also the legendary level, and the highest level is comparable to the true god, which indeed exceeds their current level. This also shows how powerful the real lord creature is, and how terrifying his pseudo-lord is, and will never be a fake. I'm relieved of this. With a snap of his fingers, more than a dozen necromancers waved their staffs and ordered the undead army to charge. Li Cheng, who was on the opposite side, recovered from the shock of discovering the Flame Lord, and in a hurry, he ordered the entire army to suppress and charge. Before, he was thinking about the commanding subordinates fighting with each other, dispatching troops, frontal suppression or detouring and other subtle tactics, to show his commanding ability. Now these thoughts are all out of the sky, and there is only one thought in his mind: defeat the army of undead at the fastest speed, and then fully engage with the many fire elements summoned in the Sea of Flames. At this moment, the confidence he had just now lost in his mind, replaced by anxiety and unwillingness, and he kept saying, "I've come this far, the top 3 are promising, I can't lose, I can't lose." Summon fire elemental, Lin Xiao ordered in a deep voice. The false flame lord in the plain roared in the sky. In the name of the Lord of the Molten Sea of Flames, summon my people. Countless flame vortexes of different sizes appeared out of thin air in the lava sea of flames that had covered a diameter of 2 or 3 kilometers. Heads of flame creatures happily rushed out of the fire elemental plane on the flaming lava that spewed out of the vortex. Even Lin Xiao was quite surprised. The same as the summoning fire element spell, ordinary fire element can generally only summon one fire element of the same level or several lower level. And a flame lord summoned the fire element directly and summoned more than 10 super large fire elements of the extraordinary level in one breath, among which there was an elite fire element that reached the 7th order, which was simply a terrifying one. The flame elves, whose number almost doubled, nearly doubled the size of the land of flames, and the earth melted through a huge lava lake. More than 1,000 flame elves happily swam around in the lava lake. The temperature of the surface rose sharply, and as the infinite flames converged to the center, the huge body of the flame lord Querbert slowly rose in the center of the sea of flames, surrounded by many flame elves, and the arms formed by the flames of Querbert lifted up and lowered. A powerful voice echoes across the plain. #% ****. The sky quickly turned red, and a vortex of flame emerged in the sky, spreading rapidly, and the red light quickly spread to the edge of the plain 10 kilometers by 10 kilometers. Li Cheng stared at the flaming meteorite that slowly drilled out of the huge flame vortex in the sky. The meteorite and the plane repel each other, the void became red and distorted, and thousands of words echoed in his mind, finally converging into one word. Fuck. Legendary spell. Meteorite from the sky. With the authority of the Flame Lord, he also gathered the power of more than 15 extraordinary super large fire elements and thousands of fire elements at all levels, so that Culbert cast a legendary spell at the 6th order level and 2 major levels. What will happen if a flame meteorite with a diameter of more than 50 meters passes through the crystal wall of the plane and appears in this plane with a length and width of only 10 kilometers? Destruction. Doomsday. With a deafening loud noise, a flaming mushroom cloud with a diameter of several kilometers slowly rose up, and a huge ring of flames swept across the edge of the plain, and everything within the range was wiped out by indescribable power. Whether it is Li Cheng's demon army, Lin Xiao's own undead army, and most of the fire elements are turned into powder under this devastating power, only a small amount of lava elements and extraordinary fire elements are left hidden under the molten sea. Due to the difficulty, even the extraordinary fire element summoned was forcibly returned to the fire element plane, and no more than 10 were still alive on the entire plane. Even the Flame Lord Culbert has already returned to the elemental plane of fire at this time. After all, the Super 2 level summoning legendary spell, his body in the material plane collapsed directly after summoning the meteorite. This is the power of a devastating legendary spell. Generally, demigods dare not carry it head-on. Even if a true god is hit by a meteor, it will take a lot of divine power to carry it. Using this kind of big move in a limited place, it is killing 1,000 enemies and losing 800, but after all, it is a win. Li Cheng was sent away with a look of frustration and helplessness, leaving 3 cards, and the Sparkling Demon Legion card was among them. Speaking of which, as the rounds of challenges persisted to the back, Lin Xiao found that his luck was getting better and better. He guessed that as he continued to defeat his opponent, he was also plundering his opponent's luck. From his victory to the present stage, the luck he had accumulated was already very terrifying, not inferior to the so-called European Emperor. Up to now, in the top 10 stages, every time you draw a card, you can basically draw the best cards of your opponent. It's normal to think about it. After all, this is a game about luck, and Major General Carey's purpose of setting the rules of the game is not just to see who is the best. Every victory is actually plundering the luck of the opponent. No matter how bad the luck is, the luck accumulated after you win 8 or 9 times in a row is no different from that of the European Emperor. There will be no chance that the luck of defeating the opponent in the 8 or 9 rounds will still be so bad. It happens when you smoke some rubbish. So now the question is, what to do with these 2 golden mythical quality 5-star cards and an ancient card that summons the Berserker Legion. Now Lin Xiao has 3 ideas, one of which is to continue to strengthen the Flame Melting Sea card. But the problem is that the Flame Melting Sea card has now reached the limit of the 5th level card. It seems that the 5th level card cannot directly summon the existence of the 7th level or higher, so the result of continuing to strengthen now will not appear. Level 7 or become a real Flame Lord, which can expand the number of flame elements summoned by the card at most. For example, more 6th order extraordinary flame elements, more large, medium and small fire elements, etc. That is to say, there is only a quantitative change, not a qualitative change. Another idea is to continue to strengthen the Undead Legion card. This ancient card still has great potential for strengthening. After all, the 12 undead mages are only level 5, not even level 6. If you continue to strengthen, all the undead mages will be strengthened. At the 6th level, the overall strength is different. As for the third idea, it is to decompose this undead card to strengthen the Rampage Demon Legion card. According to the summoned creatures, the potential and strength of demons are stronger than those of the undead, and they are especially good at charging into battle. According to Lin Xiao's vision, the demon army is at the forefront, and the Flame Lord behind them leads many fire elements to cast spells. The combination of the 2 must be very powerful. The main reason why Lin Xiao thinks this way is that the legendary spell in the next battle, the meteorite from the sky, can no longer be used. The power of this spell is too terrifying, and it is an indiscriminate spell. The last one was Li Cheng, who had no subordinates with strong life-saving ability to win. If he encounters an opponent in the next round, there are several troops with strong life-saving ability that can withstand the aftermath of the meteorite. If you don't die, wouldn't that be dumbfounded? Once you know the pros and cons of the spell, you will definitely not risk it again. Unless your opponent is far stronger than you, maybe you can try a game that everyone has played together. While he was hesitating here, on another battlefield, another player from Yuming Trading Company, Wang Jichao, lost to Arya from the Ivy League College League. On another battlefield, the war between Wu Zonglin and the Ivy League University Alliance Shuangtianzhao Zongbart is about to come to an end. The 2 sides fought fiercely in the plain for nearly 7 hours. In the end, Wu Zonglin defeated Bart with a slight advantage to advance. In the fourth battlefield, Wang Xin also defeated the last Ivy League college player with a slight advantage and won. At this point, except for Lin Xiao, the advantages of others are not very big. Well, with the exception of Shen Yuexin, at this time she was sitting alone in the void with her hands on her delicate little face in a daze, and this round she was by. There were only 9 players who advanced in the last round, and one of them must have a bye, and this spot fell on her. Lin Xiao came back to his senses and saw that she didn't seem to wake up and asked her strangely. After getting the answer, he fell into deep thought. The bye promotion itself is enviable. After the key bye, she drew 2 ancient god cards and a mythical card from the card pool, which made people envious. Sure enough, the real Ohuang is not comparable to their fake Ohuang. Lin Xiao has nothing to say. About 10 minutes later, the final match between Wu Zonglin and Bart was completely over. Bart disappeared, and there were only 5 people left in the square of the Tomb of God: Lin Xiao, Shen Yuexin, Wu Zonglin, Arya, Wang Xin. According to the rules, one more round can be used to determine the top 3. At the same time, because it is a 2-2 match, this round will also produce a lucky bye and the other 2 winners to become the top 3. 4 of the 5 are from Huasha District, and Arya is the only seed left in the Ivy League. Hong Yunfei, the mentor of the Wolf Fang team, laughed at the many mentor observers at the Ivy League University Alliance not far from the void. It seems that the quality of your elites this year is not good. With such a big advantage at the beginning, there is only one left. It would be funny if you couldn't even get into the top 3. The undisguised ridicule made the Ivy League colleges collectively silent, and there was no rebuttal, because they had nothing to say. However, the silence is silent, but it is not angry, because this situation is normal, and at the end of each exchange, there is always the winner who ridicules the loser, which is already a routine tradition. Everyone knows what the so-called exchange competition is about. If you win, you must show it off. What really depressed them was that they couldn't get the first place. Not only did the Tomb of the Gods have nothing to do with them, but even the treasure inside would be lost. This was the point that made them unhappy. But the rules have already been set, and whether they can win or not depends on the player's own luck. This is the site of the Huasha district, and the return of Major General Carey's remnant soul has alarmed many big people to stare here, which makes them have no chance to cheat. Chapter 171: Misunderstanding and Optimism. I don't know which lucky person will get this treasure. Under the gaze of countless tyrannical eyes, a new round of matching has begun. Lin Xiao earnestly and Shen Yuexin encouraged each other and entered the virtual plane. Just when they entered the virtual plane, there was a big sun in the unknown void that lined up the billowing void energy, and billions of divine lights bloomed to wash away the void hundreds of millions of kilometers away, and the creatures in the void fled out and dared not stay here. Through the invisible distortion, it is faintly visible that there is a vast world inside the big day. In the depths of the world filled with endless flames, 3 blurry figures shrouded in invisible distortions stood above the infinite divine light, and in front of them was the picture on the square of the Tomb of the Gods. There is no primary or secondary distinction between these 3 figures, but it can be clearly seen that the central figure is slightly dim, and it is Major General Carey. Beside him, one of them was the big man from the Chinese military who came to the Tomb of God to communicate with Major General Carey, and the other was a big man who came from the Ivy League University Alliance. At this time, the 3 of them were staring at the picture on the square of the God's tomb displayed on the light curtain in front of them. Major General Carey sighed. It's really in full bloom, a youthful youth with vigor. Major General Carey was quite emotional, looking out into the sky, as if recalling his own past. The presence from the military in the Huasha district on the side glanced at the other on the side, and said with a smile, "Today's scene reminds me of the time when I was in high spirits in the original 4-way exchange competition, leading my teammates to defeat all opponents in one fell swoop to win the first place in the exchange competition. How similar is the picture today." The other one heard that the twisted divine light rapidly expanded and seemed to burst out, but soon became discouraged. Humph. He snorted coldly and didn't speak. The big guy in Huasha district laughed, quite proud. Major General Carey ignored them and just said to himself, "I'm very happy to see that the main world today is so powerful, and the younger generation of elites are coming out in large numbers. Don't worry, Your Excellency, when you return to Faust, the great immortal king will personally reshape your soul for you. The big man from the Ivy League colleges and universities consoled. The unknown existence in the Washaw district on the side also nodded. His Majesty Wei Yao will also be willing to take action for Your Excellency. Major General Carey just smiled, waved his hand and said, reshaping the soul for me is equivalent to reshaping a powerful divine power, which will have a huge impact on the power of the two majesties. The two majesties won't mind. But I mind, he said firmly. After I return to the main world, I will visit the old friends who are still alive. I will trouble you all at that time. When my wish is fulfilled, I can safely return to the source sea of Gaia. The two beings from different forces were silent for a long time before a voice sounded. Your Excellency really decided to return to the source sea. Major General Carey didn't answer, just watched the light curtain with interest for a while, and suddenly said, funny boy. The other two are a little strange, and their eyes are also projected into the tomb of the gods. Compared with the instructors and observers who can only see a few players in the tomb of the gods, they are stronger and can see the battle in the virtual plane, but they can only watch the battle in the plane. What the player is doing, and what cards the player has can't be seen. The eyes of the two beings swept across the 5 young girls who were preparing for the battle, and said strangely, where's the fun? Major General Carey smiled without saying a word. As the owner of the tomb of the gods, everything in the tomb of the gods can be seen, and he can see things that others cannot. He knew exactly what cards the 5 boys and girls in the virtual plane had now, and what effects they had. Because of this, he discovered the abnormality of the cards in Lin Xiao's hand. Although the cards drawn by all the contestants were virtualized from that exotic treasure, as the owner of the tomb of the gods, he knew very well that these cards were either fake or real. As the owner of those exotic treasures, he knew that Lin Xiao was in the several cards are not the original cards. He guessed what special legacy the boy used to change these cards, and he knew exactly which legacy he once owned. He didn't pay attention before, nor would he care, because this is a kind of strength and potential in itself. Major General Carey didn't mean to investigate at all, and he didn't mean to tell the two behind him, but just observed the young man with interest. Whether it is at his level, or he himself has decided to return to the source sea, he will not be interested in the treasure in the hands of a young man. Moreover, for him, there is no difference between the Washaw district and the Ivy League University Alliance. The era he came from was the era of the Earth United Nations, and in his eyes, the main world was the same. Before giving Ivy League players such a big advantage, it was just old friends asking for each other. Suddenly he picked his eyelids, and in the last second, right under his own eyes, the young man suddenly lost a card in his hand. As the owner of the tomb of the gods, he couldn't even notice where the card went. Really interesting. Glancing back at the two behind him, they were completely unaware of this. On the virtual plane, Lin Xiao has not yet chosen to match. At this time he is synthesizing cards. After much consideration, he finally decided to disassemble the Demon Legion card that could summon 5,000 berserkers into the Undead Legion card. The reason is very simple. Although the berserker is powerful, the demon is not easy to control. It is easy to lose control in a fight. If the main force suddenly loses control on the fierce battlefield, it is a pit father. Relatively speaking, the undead are much easier to control, and they are not much weaker when strengthened. With the slow rotation of the Rubik's Cube hanging above the Divine Sea, the two cards were completely merged into a single card with an incomparably rich crystal light. Ancient 5-star Arms card. Undead Legion. Summons an Undead Legion dominated by 12 6th-level Undead Masters, including an army of 50,000 undead. Looking at the card carefully, you can clearly know the specific composition of the 50,000 undead army. As he expected, although the 5,000 berserkers disappeared after the fusion, 5,000 strengthened skeleton warriors also appeared in the undead, and after the fusion of the other two arms cards, thousands of strengths between the second and third orders appeared. Order of the Undead. With the card in hand, Lin Xiao was full of confidence. Combined with the flame-melting sea card, you need cannon fodder, the backbone and the main force, and high-end combat power with a lot of high-end combat power, 12 6th-level extraordinary undead wizards, and more than a dozen extraordinary fire elements. Bursting. Holding these two cards in his hand, Lin Xiao had the illusion that gods blocked killing gods, and demons blocked killing demons. Confidently stretched out his fingers and clicked to match, a mechanical prompt sounded. Successful match, congratulations on your buy. Quote question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark. Buy. Hanging in the air in one breath, it was as if the aircraft cup suddenly jammed when he was about to shoot, and he was hanged for a long time and could not say a word. He had already thought about the lines he would say when he met the other four opponents, and he had thought about whether he would be admired by the observers after he eliminated the last player in the Ivy League High School League if he met Arya. If you encounter Wu Zonglin, a Tianzhou player, how to win with grace. If she encounters a little ant, how should she lose a decent loss? Is it a close victory or a back and forth to win? If it's all gone now because he's had a buy. Good mood. Are you surprised, boy? The sudden voice made Lin Xiao stunned, and the voice was a little familiar. He quickly reacted and gave a military salute, and said sincerely, Junior Lin Xiao, I have seen His Excellency Major General Carey. Major General Carey did not appear, but the voice sounded in his ears. Young man, listen to my advice, don't show your most important cards to others easily in the future. The sound was not loud, but to Lin Xiao, it was like a nuclear bomb exploding in his head. He was suddenly stunned, and the unreasonable fear instantly drowned him. But before he could think about it, the voice sounded again. You are very cautious. I can't see what that treasure of yours is. I believe no one present can see it, but you left a trace of it for me to notice. Senior. Lin Xiao didn't know what to say. The gentle voice sounded again. You don't need to worry, everyone has secrets. I am not interested in your secrets. Those who can discover your secrets in the main world will not be interested, and those who may be interested will not be able to detect them. After a pause, the voice added, It can't be snatched either. Lin Xiao was wondering the meaning of this sentence, and Major General Carey's voice sounded again. With your strength and potential, I believe that many top universities will give you special places. As a special recruit of top universities, it is not uncommon to have a rare treasure. Major General Carey's next words reassured him. From what he said, it could be heard that even Major General Carey and the possible big people could not detect the magic cube of good fortune hidden in the Sea of Divine, even if Major General Carey himself could not find it. Was only discovered because of the particularity of his current position, but it was also identified by Major General Carey as a special treasure. Wonderful. From this, Lin Xiao's mind flashed, whether he can declare that he has a special treasure. No, he himself has some doubts whether this good fortune Rubik's Cube is really some kind of special treasure, but there is no evidence. At any rate, I am the strongest group of players in the summer camp. When this exchange competition is the first to inherit the legacy of Major General Carey, the potential will definitely reach the level second only to Wu Zonglin in the eyes of the observers. What's wrong with such a talented elite? There must be a good treasure in Wu Zonglin's hands, everyone knows it but no one has the intention of coveting it. It's normal to have a player who has cleared the summer camp, a special recruit from a top university, and a special treasure. Also eligible to hold. Thinking of this, the worries in Lin Xiao's heart were swept away. At this time, Major General Carey's voice sounded again. Young man, you are one of the two I am most optimistic about among all people, so work hard. If you can make it to the end, you will get a huge surprise. Big surprise? Lin Xiao subconsciously asked, Can you tell me what kind of baby it is? Without a response, Major General Carey's consciousness left, but he knew that the other party must be observing him somewhere. Chapter 172 Unexpected Final Battle. A huge surprise. Lin Xiao pinched his chin, looking forward to it. According to the information he has now, it is very likely that this Major General Carey was a powerful god during his lifetime. The huge surprise in the mouth of the existence, as well as the treasure that the military dignitaries say, this is definitely an extraordinary good thing, worthy of he fights with all his might. I just don't know who the last two winners are except myself. Lin Xiao took a bye, and only Arya, Wu Zonglin, Wang Xin and Shen Yuexin were left. He didn't know how these four would match up, and who would win and who would lose. Fortunately, although there is still a chance to draw a lottery in the bye, it is not drawn from the opponent, but directly from the central card pool. The most important thing is that because it is the last round of card drawing, this round of drawing cards is quite gorgeous. Lin Xiao saw the familiar roulette wheel unfolding in front of him. The worst position of the 36-segment roulette was orange, which only accounted for 1/3 of the 36-segment roulette. It didn't even have an epic quality, and the other third was golden mythological quality, and 1/3 of them all exudes crystal clear light, and they are all ancient cards. This card pool is absolutely amazing. It is simply telling you that you can draw 1 or 2 ancient god cards even with your eyes closed. Lin Xiao really closed his eyes and flicked his fingers to start 3 consecutive draws. He opened his eyes after all 3 rounds of draws in one breath. 2 ancient god cards exuding crystal treasures and a legendary 5-star orange glow. The card appeared in front of him. Not bad. The 2 ancient god cards were already quite good, so I removed the cards and checked them carefully. The first ancient card is called the Soul of Saint Zulfa, which summons 13 powerful Zulfa Temple Guard Knights, all 6th Order extraordinary powerhouses. The other one is called Ancient Nether Mage, which summons a powerful Ancient Nether Mage, who is also a 6th Order extraordinary powerhouse, and is a superpower that is invincible like a pseudo-flame lord. After all, the last ancient card could summon 13 extraordinary powerhouses, but this one only summons 1, so you can tell how powerful it is at a glance. The last legendary card is a magic item, Thunder Treasure. Wearing it on the body can speed up the recovery of spiritual power. It automatically summons a thunderbolt every 3 seconds to automatically bombard the most powerful and malicious enemies within a range of 500 meters. Enemies, prioritize undead demons and other evil creatures. There is no class card, it is all summoning the strong, and a powerful magic item. Holding these 3 cards, recalling the cards in his hand, he knew how to deal with these 3 cards. First of all, the Thunder Treasure will be ignored for the time being. This one does not need to be disassembled or strengthened. When that time comes, you can directly find a powerful subordinate to wear it. Then the Soul of Saint Zulfa card. Lin Xiao took out the Ancient Nether Mage card again, and threw the 2 cards into the magic cube in annoyance, and then took out the Undead Army card and threw it into it. Very simple, all integrated into the Undead Army card. Decomposition, refinement, and fusion were soon over. A new Undead Legion card appeared in his hand, and he checked it for the first time, and it was as he expected. The current Undead Legion card also reached the upper limit of quality and cannot be improved, so there is only the amount of improvement. The 13 Temple Guard Knights were perfectly transformed into 13 extraordinary Death Knights. And after the fusion of the Ancient Ghost Mage card, the Ancient Ghost Mage directly became the leader of the Undead Mage group, becoming the 13th Undead Archmage plus the Ancient Ghost Mage. Then, he gave the Thunder Treasure to the Nether Archmage to wear, not only to increase his spiritual recovery, but also to protect himself. After doing this, the next step is to wait. Because he has a bye this round, he has to wait for the other 4 to decide the winner and loser to decide the top 3. After the bye, Lin Xiao also learned that everyone can only take a bye once, and cannot have multiple byes in a row. No wonder Aunt Oh Huang did not continue to take byes. This wait is quite long, just like the little ant who was waiting to fall asleep in the last round. Everyone is very strong at this point, and it is not so easy to distinguish the winner. In other virtual planes that he couldn't see, Shen Yuexin and Arya sat on the edge of the planes, respectively instructing their subordinates to kill each other in the huge plane. In this round of matching, the only 2 remaining super beautiful girls met, and after a bit of slaughter, Shen Yuexin obviously had the upper hand. There is no way, she is too European. 11 of the dozen cards in the battle deck are ancient quality cards, 4 more than Arya, which is simply too strong. The observers on both sides of the match were silent, and it was rare that there was no discussion, because there was nothing to talk about, and there was a clear gap in strength, unless Shen Yuexin made a mistake, but it was obviously impossible. The strange thing is that the observers who observed another battle between Wu Zonglin and Wang Xin were also silent, because this one had already been decided. Wu Zonglin actually had a group of more than 40 Kobold Dragon Vein Warlocks in his hands, plus the 7 ancient god cards and mythological quality cards he had accumulated, directly crushing Wang Xin. So far, the top 3 have been released, namely Lin Xiao, Shen Yuexin and Wu Zonglin who were lucky by. All the players of the Ivy League High School League were wiped out, not a single one remained. It had only been 4 hours when Lin Xiao was awakened, and he was not too surprised when he saw the last 3 people standing in the square. On the contrary, it would have been surprising if it wasn't for the 2 of them. Shen Yuexin saw him wake up and walked over, and said with a smile, shoulder to shoulder. "There are only 3 of us left, are you excited?" Lin Xiao turned his head and saw the charming and delicate face close at hand, suppressed his heartbeat, and shook his head. "Nothing to be excited about, maybe I will be excited when I get the first place." She also tilted her head to look at him and said strangely. "You want to take the first place?" "Yup," Lin Xiao said seriously. "I've come this far, and I definitely want to take the first place. In addition to the official rewards of the summer camp, I can also inherit the legacy of Major General Carey. Such a big and broken kingdom of God is very important to me." After a pause he continued, "My background is far inferior to yours. Among the many players in the entire summer camp, my background is considered to be the worst group. How could I not try my best to strive for such a good resource?" "That's it." Shen Yuexin's eyes swept across his resolute face, and nodded vigorously. "I understand, then you have to work hard, that big man can't be underestimated." After she finished speaking, she seemed to feel that something was wrong. "I don't know how to release water, so don't even beat me." As he spoke, he held a small fist for comparison. Lin Xiao. At this time, Wu Zonglin on the other side suddenly came over and stood in front of the 2 of them. He was tall and arrogant, and the burning red dragon horns on the top of his head exuded faint fiery ripples. He looked down at Lin Xiao and said in a deep voice, "I heard that you are from Dongning City, Yunmeng Province." Dongning City 5th Middle School, Lin Xiao. His eyes fell on the circle behind Lin Xiao's head that kept shrinking inward, even his eyes seemed to be absorbed by the magic cube shadow in the chaotic vortex, and said, "You are very good, wait for the end of summer camp to chat privately." Lin Xiao smiled slightly, sure. When Wu Zonglin's eyes turned to Shen Yuexin, a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes, but it disappeared quickly and said, "I've heard your name, and you can come with him too." After speaking, he turned to the side and stopped talking. Shen Yuexin tilted her head and thought for a while, then whispered in a low voice that only she could hear. "Cut, who is going with him?" 10 minutes later, Major General Carey's voice suddenly came from Lin Xiao's ears. "Congratulations to the 3 young people for reaching the end. I am very pleased that the younger generation in the main world is stronger than the next generation. Now I announce the rules of the last round of competition." The voice paused and continued. "The rules of the last round of competition are very simple. Considering that the 3 of them may challenge each other, they may win or lose without being able to distinguish the top 3. If the rules are changed, I will simulate a plane with the same size and terrain for each of you, and will send a steady stream of enemies. Invasion, you need to use the strength in your hands to defend against the invasion of increasingly powerful enemies, and the one who persists to the end is the first place in this exchange competition, and inherits everything left by this seat." The expressions on the faces of the 3 did not change, and they listened carefully to Major General Carey and continued. "Now teleport you into the plane, you have an hour to prepare." As soon as the voice fell, the consciousness of the 3 people quickly sank into a rectangular virtual plane. This virtual plane has a width of 5 kilometers from north to south and a length of 20 kilometers from east to west. Inside is an endless meadow. On the far right of the plane, that is, at the eastern edge of the plane, there are 10 huge teleportation vortices with a diameter of more than 100 meters. The 1-hour countdown is at the corners of Lin Xiao's eyes kept beating. He glanced at the situation on the plane, and Lin Xiao, who was about to activate the battle deck, paused with a strange expression on his face. After a long pause, he suddenly took out a few cards in his hand and looked left and right, with an increasingly strange expression on his face. Why bah, give it a shot." He threw all the cards into the magic cube, then decomposed them, refined them, and started to strengthen them crazy with the flame-melting sea card as the core. 3-star mythical quality spell ring. An undead legion card that combines multiple ancient quality cards. 5-star epic magic item card, defense enchantment. 5-star legendary quality magic item card, Thunder Treasure. An annoyance completely disintegrated into the Flame Molten Sea card. Soon, a card with an indescribably rich crystal light was freshly released. Holding it in your hand felt like grabbing a gleaming light cluster. Ancient 5-star summoning card, Flame Sea. Summons the Lord of Flame Sea, Pseudo-Flame Lord Culbert from the Flame Sea, and randomly summons 50 to 100 extraordinary level flame creatures, 500 to 1000 large-scale flame creatures, 3000 to 5000 medium-sized flame creatures, and 15,000 small flame creatures. Note: fire creatures include fire elements, lava elements, steam elements, flame beasts and other fire creatures. I'm so crazy. Lin Xiao grabbed the new Flame Molten Sea card and quickly activated the summon. Then, a huge flame vortex appeared in the center of the plane, and endless lava flames spewed out of the vortex like a fountain, quickly spreading around. I am Fire Lord Culbert. With a dull and majestic announcement, the Flame Lord Culbert, surrounded by countless fire elements, slowly rose from the vortex with the lava flames, and the infinite lava rushed to cover the earth, and the temperature in the plane rose steeply. Apiece. Lin Xiao's eyes lit up, his mind moved, and the Pseudo-Lord Culbert directed the fire elements to be divided into 4 parts, each headed by more than 10 extraordinary flame creatures, gathering 2 or 3,000 large and small fire elements to swim to the 4 directions of the plane. The terrifying high temperature formed by the gathering of many flame creatures melted the earth into lava. As the 4 flame creatures spread, the huge lava lake also spread. Chapter 173 Crazy Idea. Outside the Tomb of the Gods, in the void, many observers were stunned when they watched the most central battlefield among the 3 battlefields projected from the Tomb of the Gods. Almost everyone's eyes are fixed on this virtual plane. The rolling lava flames flow in all directions and turn the entire plane into a sea of lava. There is no place to settle. Almost everyone wants to say this sentence at this time. Damn it, this is too showy. The one who spoke was Hong Yunfei, the instructor of the Wolf Fang team. The colonel slapped his thigh and said, "This kid's brain is flexible and promising, and he can think of such a sassy idea." He smiled and looked at Xie Yufei on the other side, and was about to speak. The female colonel with dark golden hair like flames wrapped around her body glared coldly, and spit out a word. Roll. Good luck. Hong Yunfei turned around with a slap. Xie Yufei wrapped her arms around her hot body, staring at the slowly activated portal in the virtual plane, and nodded lightly involuntarily. Compared with the optimism of military personnel who only focus on practicality and efficiency, other observers are speechless. They wanted to say that it was cheating, but it was indeed within the rules of the game, and an observer who could not see the appearance muttered. It's all like this, others are playing a fart. On the first virtual plane, Wu Zonglin activated the most powerful cards in his hand, and a large number of troops of different races were summoned, establishing a line of defense about 1 kilometer away from the portal. He had a wide variety of troops, ranging from just over 1,000 to tens of thousands. It was an ancient quality cannon fodder card that summoned tens of thousands of cavemen equipped with simple weapons and leather armor. In the core behind the defense line, in addition to a dozen extraordinary powerhouses, there are also 42 Kobold Dragon Vein Warlocks. These 42 Kobold Dragon Warlocks were not summoned by cards, but the kobolds in a kobold card in his hand were awakened by the influence of a treasure he possessed. Unfortunately, the challenge time was too short and not many were awakened. If the time is long enough to awaken hundreds of Kobold Dragon Warlocks, he is confident to counterattack the enemy's birthplace behind the portal. The premise is that the portal can enter. But even so, he has enough confidence to stick to the end. He looked up at the looming outlines of creatures in the slowly rotating teleportation vortex in the distance. It was the first wave of invasion that was about to come. After all, this is an additional 42 Kobold Dragon Warlocks with combat power comparable to extraordinary creatures. Soon the first wave of invasion appeared, and from the 10 portals that were as high as 100 meters, it turned out that the middle-level race orcs came out, and they rushed out of the portals continuously, and it continued to pour out, and the initial strength was unexpectedly high. Wu Zonglin, who wanted to defend step by step, had to mobilize the main force from the rear to make shots in advance, so as not to exhaust the cannon fodder in one wave. In another plane, a group of more than 600 mages gathered together, under the auspices of more than 20 extraordinary archmages, they were transforming the terrain of the plain. The mages spent a lot of mana, changed the terrain through powerful spells, and pulled up the land 700 or 800 meters away from the portal, forming a high slope of 50 or 60 meters wide and also 30 or 40 meters high. On one side of the portal, the entire steep wall of the terrain forms an artificial cliff. Then use the fossil as mud magic to soften the soil under the cliff hundreds of meters high in front of the high slope. Dispatch a large number of cannon fodder to dig a huge ditch 30 or 40 meters wide and more than 10 meters deep, and then open the channel to the water element plane. Summons a large amount of pure water to fill the ditch. Then, the dug-up ooze was built on the raised high slopes to build simple arrow towers, which were reinforced with the mud-to-stone spell, and a whole row was lined up on the 5-kilometer-wide cliff, with a large number of archers, crossbowmen and javelins. The pitcher stands on it. After doing all this, Shen Yuexin patted her little hands and crossed her slender waist, looking up at the achievements of her subordinates and laughing. Who else? A considerable part of the observers couldn't help covering their faces, and some secretly laughed. Some people laughed. I hope the little girl will not be irritable when you wait. Indeed, her move is similar to Lin Xiao's method. She uses external force to create terrain that is beneficial to her. Without Lin Xiao, she could really rely on this powerful terrain to last longer than Wu Zonglin. In terms of real strength, it was difficult for the two to distinguish masters at the time. One had a powerful mage group, and the other had more than 40 powerful kobold dragon vein warlocks. On the surface, it was impossible to tell who was more powerful. But in terms of survival and defense capabilities, the serious magician group dumped Wu Zonglin's kobold dragon vein warlock group Zhu. A steady stream of orcs between the 2nd, 3rd and 4th levels poured out from the portal. After rushing 700 or 800 meters, they were blocked by a high wall. She didn't even leave an exit and blocked them all. Squeezed outside the giant ditch for a moment, he jumped into the giant ditch and swam to the opposite side without hesitation. Above the cliff, a large number of archers, crossbowmen, and pitchers quickly attacked. At the same time, the magician group was divided into small teams to jointly cast spells, constantly summoning waves of fire rain, blizzards, and even lightning storms and other large-scale spells sprinkled on the battlefield, and a large number of orcs were killed outside the high wall. Relying on the geographical advantage, she firmly blocked the endless orcs from the high wall and could not enter an inch. On the other side, although Wu Zonglin had no geographical advantage, he also blocked a steady stream of orcs with his strong hard power, but inevitably a large number of front-row cannon fodder died in battle. As more and more orcs poured out, they began to mix with other special units, such as half-orc spearmen, nimble wolf knights, and raised monitor lizards and other monsters. The pressure was increasing, and the front-row cannon fodder it has gradually become unstoppable, and he has to send the backbone of troops to resist. The difficulty of this last round of challenges is not comparable to that of Lin Xiao's final exam. At the beginning, there were tens of thousands of orcs. In less than 10 minutes, tens of thousands of orcs emerged, and a large number of middle and advanced arms began to appear. 15 minutes later, the first super orc warlord sat on the battlefield with a super-level giant beast stepping on a dull drum beat. The pressure increased sharply by a large margin. This is a half-orc hero. Even if it is just an ordinary hero, it is a hero, and there are more than a dozen orc chiefs or shaman leaders of extraordinary level who come with him. All of them have powerful force. Under the roaring command of the half-orc warlord, the chaotic half-orc cannon fodder began to form a group, and cooperated with the other troops behind to fight. Under the blessing of the bloodthirsty shaman, they were not afraid of death and rushed to the oncoming gun forest. Arrow rain. Wu Zonglin's forward cannon fodder suddenly collapsed. They are also cannon fodder. He is a real cannon fodder. They are all first-level whole shui people who can beat the lowest second-level orcs from time to time. Even the backbone arms in his hands are only third-level arms, which are not much different from the half-orc cannon fodder. Facing the massive wave of half-orcs, the kobold dragon warlock in the rear had to take action and start clearing the field. Compared with the fierce battle on his side, Shen Yuexin on the other side was much better, but only limited. As the orc overseer entered the field, the chaotic ranged orc spearmen were assembled and began to confront the guards on the high wall. Booming from top to bottom, those below will definitely suffer, but there are so many orcs that they can afford it continuously, and the long-range defenders on the high wall can hardly hold on for less than an hour. In particular, the crude wooden trebuchets dragged by some tame ogres in the back joined the battlefield one by one, boulders smashed up with a roar, and a large number of towers built from mud were smashed. The mage group in the rear resting to restore mana had to use spells to suppress the enemy, but there are shamans in the half-orcs, and they can mainly bless the elemental defense enchantment to resist the flames and frost. Crucially, when the battle continued into the third hour, a large number of batriders began to pour out of the portal. This is a special giant bat with 5 or 6 meters of wings outstretched. It can accommodate a troll and a big troll. It contains oil cans and gunpowder. A large amount of kerosene and gunpowder were thrown down, and the high wall instantly turned into a sea of fire. Although this batch of bad knights were quickly eliminated, this kind of air knights were continuously transmitted from the teleportation vortex, and they were not afraid of loss at all. In just a few hours, the 2 super geniuses who could reach the end of the exchange competition were forced into a corner. With the number of invading enemies, once the defense line is breached, all the enemies will flood in and be destroyed in minutes. Both Wu Zonglin and Shen Yuexin had a solemn look on their faces at this time, and they were fully focused on the command, so accurate that even the cannon fodder had to exert a part of their power. They don't know how other opponents are doing, don't know if anyone has been eliminated, they can only do their best to make themselves last longer, even for a second. They don't know that Lin Xiao is sitting cross-legged in another plane not far away. On the back of a tall flaming bull, he was chatting with Major General Carey on the opposite side. Yes, compared to the other 2 who are fighting to death, he is very leisurely here. The 10 huge teleportation vortexes on the edge of the plane are still pouring out various half-beast troops, but as soon as they came out of the teleportation vortex, they fell into the lava below and melted into coke. Countless corpses piled up and even the lava cooled, but as a large group of fire elements gently pushed a wave of lava in not far away, the black rock that had just been cooled by the blood turned into red lava again, and the cycle started again and again. The sea of flames summoned more than 16,000 large, medium and small fire elements, and each fire element summoned a different number of fire elements. At this time, the plane accommodated more than 50,000 large and small fire elements, and the entire plane contained all the fire elements. It turned into a sea of lava, and the depth extended to the deepest part of the plane, reaching a terrifying depth of thousands of meters. It can be described like this. If the lava flames are described as water, this plane has now become a fish tank filled with half of the water, and then there are 10 exits on the edge of the fish tank, and a steady stream of ants are rushing out of it and falling into the lava. Melt. This is why Lin Xiao decomposes all the annoyances of the undead army. Although the undead army is powerful, many undead archmages can continue to pull up the dead enemies. In theory, they can fight more and more. But there is a big problem here. If the enemy's offensive is too fierce, the undead awakened can't compare with the loss, then it will be fucked. So he made this crazy decision, and it turned out he was right. And he slept on the back of a flaming bull that was bigger than an elephant from the start, until Major General Carey suddenly showed up an hour ago. Chapter 174: The Ancient Secrets and Treasures in the Mouth of Major General Carey. Major General Carey didn't say anything, but it was a clear signal when he appeared here. "Boy, you won," Major General Carey said that as soon as they met, and Lin Xiao giggled, which was what he expected. Before, I was worried that Mr. Kree would not feel that he was unbalanced to add more material to himself. Now it seems that he will not. His behavior is indeed within the scope of the rules. Major Carey reached out and stroked. A cup of steaming coffee appeared in front of him, took a sip of coffee, and said, "As far as the rules allow, you have already won, but the second and third places have not yet been decided, and you need to wait a while." After a pause he continued, "Before that, I'll tell you a story. Are you interested in listening to this guy?" "Honored. This is simply nonsense. This kind of secret from the mouth of a powerful divine force, he is very interested. A long time ago, it was the era when human beings just discovered the game of God's domain. At that time, because of the appearance of the game of God's domain, a demigod or even a true god was born, and the nations of the earth united unprecedentedly to form the Earth United Nations in the true sense. Wall exploration and resource plunder. At that time, the most powerful force of the Earth Alliance was called the Outer Territory Expeditionary Force. It was composed of the most powerful former regimes of the Earth Alliance. It was responsible for entering the outer domain to attack the planes of the outer domain, plundering resources and rules to strengthen the main world. It was very smooth at the beginning. It conquered dozens of planes of different sizes in a row. Massive resources were plundered from foreign planes and filled into the main world, making the main world more and more powerful. But the good times didn't last long. Our plundering behavior finally alerted the origin of an exotic crystal wall, and an exotic god discovered us. From the beginning of a small-scale conflict, to a large-scale battle of gods, to a super god with powerful divine power. The expedition was defeated. The enemy discovered the main world along the exotic door that we opened, and the powerful gods of the exotic region headed by the three powerful gods began to invade the main world. At this moment of crisis, the government of the Main World Alliance has launched two important plans. One is the Hope Plan, sending elites to form expedition teams to enter different exotic crystal walls. One of the thoughts is to find possible friendly and exotic gods. If you can't find a friendly foreign god, you will lead the wolf into the room, drive the tiger to devour the wolf, and lead other enemies into the battlefield. Another plan is called the Spark Plan, which will allow a group of players from the God-conferred God realm to leave the main world with a large number of humans, technology and resources, and go to other unknown crystal walls to avoid the war. Lin Xiao listened attentively and quietly, not daring to say a word. This kind of ancient secret is not something he can hear under normal circumstances. And I, a member of the advanced team, led my team into the vast chaotic sea, looking for a crystal wall system that may have a powerful existence until. Lin Xiao seemed more serious here, and he could feel that this was the essence. In the fourth crystal wall system we discovered, it was a crystal wall system that was being invaded by other powerful crystal wall systems and was about to be destroyed. When we arrived, what we saw was the last great existence of this crystal wall system. The great existence was besieged and fell, but when the 10 great beings plundered the origin of this crystal wall system, its core source suddenly exploded and disappeared, and the crystal wall system began to collapse. Next, we fell into the pursuit of this huge god system. All the team members fell one by one. I plunged into a chaotic vortex in a desperate situation and fell into this crystal wall system. Afterwards, I transformed the realm of the gods into a kingdom of gods in a remote plane of the crystal wall system, began to spread beliefs, and grew rapidly. In just 1,000 years, I was promoted to a powerful god, and also formed a powerful god system, leading one-dimensional community. My super-fast promotion has aroused the vigilance and coveting of other powerful gods around me. A melee battle involving 4 powerful gods and 9 powerful gods has begun. One of my gods resisted the siege of 3 powerful gods. The battle of gods lasted for 40,000 years, and my strength has been promoted from the beginning to a powerful god, and I have grown rapidly in the battle of gods. By the end of the battle of gods, I was already at the 10th level of godhead. The powerful divine power of the 9th level is only one step away from being promoted to that great divine power. Lin Xiao couldn't help taking a deep breath. Before he died, this old senior who seemed to see through life turned out to be a powerful divine power with a godhead level of 19. This is too conspicuous. The godhead level of powerful divine power is from the 15th to the 19th level, and the next level, the 20-level godhead level, is the legendary great divine power. This is the terrifying existence of only a few Liao Liao even in the main world today, the Dinghai Shenzhen of civilization. Not to mention the few great divine powers, there are not many powerful divine powers of the 19th level of the godhead level in the main world now. However, the increasingly large-scale battle of gods finally attracted the attention of a great being. Speaking of which, Major General Carey sighed, with extreme unwillingness and fear on his face, and continued. In that battle, my main belief plane was smashed by our divine power, countless gods fell, and that great existence finally retreated, and I also fell. Major General Carey didn't seem to want to mention the details of the battle at the beginning. Liao Liao explained the terrifying grand strategy involving great divine power in a few words. He raised his eyes and looked at Lin Xiao and said, "Do you really want to know what my treasure is?" Lin Xiao nodded vigorously. In fact, he had a slight guess, but he had to let Major General Carey say it himself to know if it was true. You are a smart child, you should have some guesses. Yes, the heavy treasure in my hand is the core of the destroyed crystal wall system, and it accidentally fell into my hands. Lin Xiao's pupils widened uncontrollably, and ecstasy welled up in his heart. However, he has been damaged. Turning around, he almost didn't recover in one breath, and subconsciously asked. Is it the war? Yes, in order to save my life, I used up the remaining origin in the origin core to repel that great existence, and I also fell, but before I fell, I separated a remnant soul with a piece of divine kingdom fragment and treasure and hid it. Get up, the tomb of the gods has been opened every 10,000 years or so for hundreds of millions of years, and it was only today that I saw my kin come to this crystal wall system. Major General Carey suddenly stretched out his right hand, a familiar ball of light appeared in his palm, and a message appeared out of thin air in Lin Xiao's mind. Broken crystal wall system origin core shell. The original core left after the destruction of a once extremely prosperous crystal wall system was destroyed by an unimaginable external force, and the origin in the core passed away, leaving only the outer shell. Lin Xiao. This piece of information appears out of thin air. No matter who sees this ball of light, the information about this thing will automatically appear in their minds, just like the rules in the dark. This thing. Lin Xiao scratched his head and asked. Major General, this thing has been damaged, what's the use? Major General Carey suddenly stretched out his hand and the polished ball flew out. Lin Xiao was startled and hurriedly held it. The next second the ball of light disappeared out of thin air and appeared in his divine sea. The magic cube of creation that occupies the center of the sea of divine. Boom! Lin Xiao felt like a supernova exploded in his sea of consciousness. Unimaginable power erupted. Hundreds of millions of light waves swept across the sea of consciousness. He instantly fell into a dizziness and lost consciousness. I don't know how long it took. When he came back to his senses and immediately sank into the sea of divine, he saw that the Rubik's cube above the sea of turned the magic cube. Obviously, the conflict between the two and the creation of the Rubik's cube has the absolute upper hand. Is this treasure just like this? Lin Xiao felt like a child's play, but the fact was that Major General Carey gave him this treasure in advance. At this time, Major General Carey's voice appeared in his mind again, and he quickly recovered to hear Major General Carey continue to say. Although it has been damaged, it is after all a part of the original core of a crystal wall system. It has all kinds of magical effects that you can't imagine. You will know it later on by yourself. In addition, Major General Carey was silent for a while, and seemed to be hesitant. After more than 10 seconds, he continued to speak, but there was no sound, but a message appeared directly in his sea of divine. If you can have the chance to repair its core, you will be able to go back to my original path and have the opportunity to be promoted to great divine power. Promoting great power. Lin Xiao also didn't say this sentence, he didn't dare to say it, but his eyes widened to reflect how shocked he was at the moment. Don't tell anyone what I told you later, and don't tell anyone, including your parents and wife, before you are promoted to powerful divine power. Lin Xiao nodded again and again. If it is true, no one can really say it, it can only be rotten in the bottom of my heart. In front of outsiders, he only got a broken and irreparable treasure, and no one else can mention it. Ordinary people can't imagine how tempting a baby that has the potential to enter the great divine power will be to those powerful divine powers, even if the difficulty of repairing is extremely high and the probability is low. As long as there is a chance, there will be a lot of powerful divine powers to grab it, even if at this time, the two big figures outside the tomb of the gods could not resist this temptation. Therefore, this will be the second unspeakable secret of him besides the creation of the Rubik's cube. Of course, for Lin Xiao, what's behind is actually tasteless. He is not even a demigod now, and he is still 108,000 miles away from the great power. He doesn't know when he can be promoted to the great power. How many years, can completely ignore. On the contrary, the function of this thing itself is quite useful to him now. Even in the initial stage without any repairs, the shell of the crystal wall system origin core has a powerful effect. Town Realm. Strengthen God's domain. Make God's domain space strength +1, energy concentration +1, stabilize God's domain, and fuse cards +1 per month. Chapter 175. Broken Crystal Wall System Origin Core Shell. This is only the initial state with this additional effect. If all the cracks on the shell can be repaired, not only the existing effects will be fully strengthened, but other more powerful additional effects will also be obtained. On the plane where Wu Zonglin was located, after resisting for 5 hours and killing nearly 50,000 or 60,000 intruders, his own losses finally reached the point where he could no longer maintain the line of defense. A steady stream of enemies smashed the left and right flanks, and a large group of orcs interspersed and surrounded them from the broken left and right flanks. If they failed, they entered the countdown. He looked indifferently as his subordinates were surrounded by half-orcs like a vast ocean, like a piece of dry white paper that was gradually infiltrated by water. The drying area became smaller and smaller, until the last batch of the Kobold Dragon Warlock was overwhelmed by the tidal enemy, and the space in front of him changed and left the virtual plane, and at the same time left the Tomb of the Gods. On another plane, the artificial high wall built by Shen Yu as more and more orcs died in battle, the corpses piled up and filled an artificial river until it was flush with the high wall. A large number of orcs rushed up the high wall along the corpse pile, and what they saw was the second new high wall that was just completed a few hundred meters away. She built a new line of defense in addition to the first line of defense. She clapped her hands and crossed her waist with a sly agility in her eyes. This anti-wins. When the steady stream of cannon fodder used his life to fill the second high wall, he ordered some mages to start building the third high wall at a later location. With this procrastination tactic, she persisted for more than 10 hours, until a giant beast more than 10 meters long drilled out of the portal and forcibly knocked the giant wall away, and she had to lose. At this time, there was no frustration on her face at all. Instead, she put her hands on her hips and watched more and more terrifying troops emerge from the portal, besieging her remaining mage regiments that were digging holes and hiding in the depths of the earth. Based on this alone, she persisted for an entire hour, until the second half-orc hero of the legal system arrived and cast the earthquake spell with the shamans, killing the mage group hidden in the depths of the earth alive. Consciously leaving the battlefield, Shen Yuexin saw that she was sitting in one of the 9 golden thrones in the hall of the summer camp, and she was stunned. After a long while, he came to his senses and stood up and shouted. "How can that be?" He quickly turned to look at Wu Zonglin, who was sitting at the center of the 9 golden thrones, 2 seats apart. The young man who had returned to the subspace at some point returned to the gentle appearance he had originally thought, smiling and spreading his hands. "Not me." Shen Yuexin was even more surprised. She glanced at Lin Xiao's original position and found another teenager who she didn't know was sitting there. She quickly realized what was happening and turned her head. There was no one on the golden throne between herself and Wu Zonglin. She was about to say something. Suddenly a group of clear light appeared out of nowhere in the void in the center of the hall, and quickly unfolded into a light curtain. A huge sea of lava appeared on it, and countless flame creatures were playing in the lava flames. Most of the players don't know what this is, but Shen Yuexin can see it at a glance. On the other side, Wu Zonglin also leaned forward slightly to stare at the plane, and for a long time he showed a sudden look. "So it is." And Shen Yuexin opened her mouth slightly as she watched the intruders pouring out of the 10 portals on the edge of the plane, fell into the lava and turned into ashes as soon as they entered. Her beautiful little head was a little stunned. At this moment, a beam of light surrounded by endless starlight suddenly descended from the sky and hit the last unoccupied golden throne. A circle of crystal light exploded and stabbed everyone subconsciously to turn their heads. When Jingguang disappeared, everyone looked over and saw that Lin Xiao was sitting on the golden throne, becoming one of the 9 golden players. The little ant came back to her senses, gritted her teeth and crossed her hips to look at Lin Xiao, who had just returned, before she squeezed out a few words. "You cheat." As soon as the voice fell, another battlefield appeared in the air screen. The endless stream of orcs were blocked by a high wall and could not enter an inch. The images of being attacked by the archers on the high wall but unable to fight back were displayed in front of everyone. The projection speeded up quickly, and quickly showed her way of procrastinating in front of everyone. Lin Xiao opened her mouth subconsciously after reading, "Oh," and saw that her delicate little face immediately turned red, and subconsciously reached out and pinched his waist twist in between. "Oh." Then it was gone, and the little ant who had reacted suddenly fell into a state of social death, holding her head and bending her legs, and shrank in the shape of an ostrich in the big golden throne. No one was making a sound around, but it could be seen that many people were holding back from laughing. Lin Xiao swept around and saw Wu Zonglin's mouth twitched when he saw Wu Zonglin, who had always been unsmiling. He shrugged and spread his hands as if it was none of my business. At this time, the projection in the air had disappeared, but the host had not arrived. Lin Xiao glanced at the golden throne under him and was not too surprised. After all, he is the first place in the exchange competition, and it is not surprising to replace someone who has performed well in the exchange competition to take the golden throne. The reason why Wu Zonglin was not replaced is because the progressive relationship of this seat is related to the overall performance of the entire summer camp. He only had the best performance in the last stage of the summer camp, and he was definitely no better than Wu Zonglin, who had been ranked first. The key point is that his own strength is far inferior to this Tianzhou sub-ranking player. He is really placed in the center. Not only are others dissatisfied, but he himself is not at ease. Of course, the seat is just a reputation. In fact, he doesn't care about it very much. The real rewards and benefits are the focus. Not only the upcoming summer camp exchange tournament rewards, but also the legacy inherited to Major General Carey, most of the fragments of the Kingdom of God hidden in the Tomb of the Gods. Part of the reason is that when Major General Carey finally left, he asked him to divide this huge fragment of the Kingdom of God into small parts, and made 5 ancient quality cards of the Kingdom of God to reward the young heroes who had performed well in the summer camp. Lin Xiao could feel Major General Carey's pure and unselfish idea of only wishing the younger generation to be better. In addition, this was the last wish of this ancestor, so he agreed. Anyway, it's only a small part, most of it is his own, and everything else in the Tomb of the Gods is his. Of course, the Tomb of the Gods is actually nothing. The Tomb of the Gods is not full of treasures in the imagination of outsiders. Apart from the fragments of the Kingdom of God and the pile of statues, the most valuable thing in the Tomb of the Gods is the core shell of the crystal wall system. Major General Carey escaped from the hands of a great divine power at the beginning, and it was very reluctant to hide it with a fragment of the Kingdom of God. How could it be possible to really collect any treasures? Taken together, Major General Carey's legacy is the broken crystal wall system origin core shell, a fragment of the Kingdom of God of unknown size, including an unknown number of legendary creatures or statues of demigods. There should be a lot of divinity harvested here, in addition to this. There is nothing else. Now that the inheritance is in his domain, he will only wait for the summer camp to return to the domain to receive it. Speaking of this, Lin Xiao couldn't wait. He looked around, but he didn't find the host, nor did he see the team's mentors and observers. Not only was he curious, but others were also curious. And they wondered why the host's 4th team mentor and many observers, who had not shown up, were arguing in another space at this time. If Lin Xiao came over, he would find that the number of observers was several times larger than before. Listen carefully, and the content of the quarrel it is to compete for the students. Because of the exchange competition, the observers of the universities and colleges holding the summer camp jointly promised to use all the special places they have for them. As a result, the observers of various universities other than the dozens of university observers who had only appeared before are now full of annoyance. 200 or 300 observers from 5 super universities and 133 institutions of higher learning have all arrived. They quarreled over the competition for the best players. However, Lin Xiao and Shen Yuexin were not among the fiercest contenders, not even the gold tier players, but the silver tier 36 players. Because all the observers of higher education institutions know that they are not something that higher education institutions can win at all. They are the dishes of several super institutions, especially Lin Xiao, who won the first place in the exchange competition and inherited the legacy of Major General Carey. In a sense, at this time, his priority among the various institutions of higher learning is comparable to that of Wu Zonglin. He will definitely be favored by the Super Academy and will be specially recruited, but I don't know if Wei Yao, who is ranked first, is willing to come up with the special recruit quota. Wei Yao, who has always been ranked first as a super university, seldom gives special places in summer camps. Maybe not one of the 10 sessions has given a special place, but intentional invitations are common. The confidence they dare to do lies in the glorious and sound talent training system and huge reserve base. As a super god system with great power and occupying an entire crystal wall system, after more than 200,000 years in the main world, the number of foreign countries after thousands of years of operation, the crystal wall system owned by Weiyao has long been assimilated by the main world. At this time, the crystal wall system named Weiyao already has tens of billions of immigrants and hundreds of billions or even trillions of immigrant descendants. There are not many main material planes and many super large planes in the entire crystal wall system, has been completely colonized and assimilated. The descendants of so many immigrants have the status of master world citizens or joint citizens, enjoy the same treatment as citizens, and have the opportunity to open up the realm of the gods. These infinite citizens and affiliated citizens will surely give birth to outstanding geniuses. Perhaps there will be very few peerless talents like Wu Zonglin, but there will be no shortage of outstanding elites and geniuses. Such superpowers, unless they are extremely outstanding, otherwise special admissions are generally not given. But no matter whether Weiyao is willing to give special places, there is no chance for non-super universities. They won't be able to get Weiyao if they don't. Other super universities will. For example, there are still 2 of the top 5 super academies that have not yet offered special seats. Moreover, although Wu Zonglin has already specially recruited Wu Zonglin to make the promise of the chief, it does not prevent others from recruiting a second or last seat. Although there is no priority for the second special admission, other top universities or institutions of higher learning can grab it, but few students will refuse the special invitation from the third-ranked super university, War Throne. Chapter 176, The Competition for Schools. Normally, even the second or last seat of a super institution is more attractive than the chief of a general institution of higher learning. At least for Lin Xiao, if the throne of war is willing to give a special place, even the third last seat is better for him than the chiefs of other institutions of higher learning. It's just that now he has already agreed to Tai's special move, so he has already chosen Wu Zonglin's war throne and has lost his priority. Now even if he is given a special recruit, he can't agree unless Tai voluntarily gives up. Before the release, it may be possible to exchange for benefits, but now it is impossible for the Ether to give up, unless they exchange it with Wu Zonglin. However, at this time, the observers of the Ether are in a very bad mood. Although there is no chance for the throne of war, there are still several of the 5 super colleges that still have the first special recruitment priority. The anger has successively said that he has taken a fancy to him. That is to say, although Lin Xiao still belongs to the Ether in name at this time, it is foreseeable that it will not belong to them when the divine wrath and the holy crystal come to an end. There are 12 super universities in the main world, and 5 in China. They are the No. 1 Radiance, 3rd Throne of War, the 7th-ranked Ming Luo, the 10th-ranked God Fury, as well as the 12th-ranked Holy Crystal. Each of them is a behemoth with a huge ruling territory and terrifying power. The minimum standard for establishing an institution of higher learning is to have a powerful divine power, a huge and complete divine system, and to completely unify a plane community dominated by a super large plane that can give birth to powerful divine power in a foreign land. This is only the minimum standard. In fact, there are more conditions involved in establishing an institution of higher learning. After all, for so many years in the main world, a powerful divine power has been born every few hundred years or thousands of years, but there have been tens of thousands of years without new births in higher education institutions. As for the establishment of a super university, the conditions will be more stringent. First of all, it must be based on an institution of higher learning. This is a prerequisite. It will not be said that suddenly there is a powerful god who wants to establish a super academy. The main god was suddenly promoted to great power, and he couldn't jump over it in one step. Of course, if there is a sudden birth of great divine power, it is only a matter of time before being promoted to a super academy. A super academy must have a powerful divine power with a godhead level of level 19, as well as dozens or even more powerful divine powers to support it, and must unify a huge plane community dominated by the main material plane in an exotic land. This is quite a harsh condition, because in an exotic crystal wall, the main material plane is generally the center of the crystal wall, connecting with many forces in the entire crystal wall. Generally, the area where the gods of the crystal wall system fall alive is the main material plane. Unify a community of the material plane, which is difficult. Let's put it this way. Except for the top ones in the existing 12 super universities, the unified main material planes behind are those crystal wall systems that do not have great divine power, or the unified main material that has not been paid attention to by great existences. Plane. This is because some powerful wall systems will have multiple main material planes, forming multiple centers within the wall universe, and they unify the parts of it that have not been paid attention to by the great beings. Being attracted to such a behemoth, Lin Xiao certainly would not refuse, nor could he refuse. Who will be the first to contact me? Sitting upright on the golden throne and looking down, the angle of the seats seemed to him to be surrounded by his subordinates, condescending, the stars holding the moon. This feeling is very cool. Sitting at this level, basically reaching the top, the next thing to consider is, if several super universities choose me at the same time, how should I choose? The premise is that Weiyao is not included. If it is the first super university, it will definitely not need to be considered. In addition to Radiance and Throne of War, the remaining super universities have high and low rankings, but there is no qualitative gap in strength, so there is a tangle. The boy rested his chin in his hands, daydreaming, not paying any attention to the strange glances from the other players on the golden throne. Curiosity was mixed with a hint of dissatisfaction. Well, mainly because of dissatisfaction. The main reason is that Lin Xiao's seat was a stone seat at the beginning. At that time, he was so far away from them that he belonged to a small character whose name could not be remembered. As a result, after 2 rounds, I unknowingly climbed to the silver seat, and now not only jumped to the gold level, but also beat Wu Zonglin to win the first place in the final stage, and also inherited the legacy of the ancient ancestors. This is simply. If it was Wu Zonglin first, they would be convinced. If Lin Xiao won the first place based on his strength, they would be convinced. But he was not, he got this by luck, and the result made them very unconvinced, quite unconvinced. But they had no choice, the result was doomed, they could only express their dissatisfaction with their eyes. Of course, just being dissatisfied doesn't mean they will do anything. Not to mention that the result has already been determined. Even if Lin Xiao is swayed at this time, it will not change the result, but he is really dissatisfied. Lin Xiao noticed their eyes, but didn't care. This is normal. Any outstanding genius who considers himself extraordinary will have arrogance. It's their business whether they are convinced or not, he can't control it. At this time, he has no time to control it, because at this time he has already received the contract cancellation information from the Ether Observer, and the Observer said in a regretful tone. We hope you can come to Ether, but unfortunately, due to the restrictions of the summer camp, you will be selected by a super university. Lin Xiao was secretly happy in his heart, but the expression on his face did not change. It's a pity not to be able to go to the Ether students. The Ether Observer paused before replying. With your talent, you will definitely stand out in the future. I hope to hear good news from you in the future. Goodbye. Thanks. The communication was interrupted, and Lin Xiao sat down calmly. This communication from the Ether Observer almost means that there must be a super university that has taken a fancy to him, but he doesn't know which one or which ones. In a certain space, 3 distorted figures in the void around them stood in the air, and opposite them there was only one figure that was also shrouded in distortion. Only the one in the middle of the 3 said, "We have long been optimistic about this player." The man on the opposite side just hugged his hands and said lightly, "You gave up on your own." The 3 figures on the right continued, "We have made an agreement with his alma mater that he will enter our holy crystal. The alma mater is the alma mater, and it has no right to make decisions for him." The 3 figures on the left immediately said, "We decided to give him the top spot. We have also decided to give him the top spot. Old guy, do you have to rob us?" From the Shenwu Observer, Feng Qingyan said, "It's you who robbed me. You really don't give any face." No. The 3 observers of Shengjing were annoyed for a while. The guy in front of him was already difficult to deal with, and the ranking of God's Fury was higher than that of Shengjing. In addition, they had given up Lin Xiao once before, so this time they really didn't have much confidence in competing for them. They didn't expect this young man to be so powerful. Before, only Lao Li thought he was a good seedling, but he just thought he was a good seedling. Never thought that he would give them such a big surprise in the end. At this time, in their eyes, Lin Xiao's the potential is already second only to Wu Zonglin, stronger than the other gold players who are second only to Wu Zonglin. If in another year or so, under their training, it will not be a problem to enter the top talent list at the end of the second year of high school or even a higher rank. They don't want to give up such super excellent players. But it's still the same problem. They can see the advantages of young people, and others can also see that it is a big problem how to grab them. According to the regulations, if the two sides have been arguing and no one will give in, and the result is still to be chosen by the young man, then Shengjing, who has given up the young man before, will have no advantage. What a headache. The three St. Crystal observers thought about it for a long time and found that there was absolutely no way to convince the youth or persuade the opponent to retreat, because not only did they have no advantage, but they were also slightly inferior to the opponent. The three of them were silent, and the observer from the wrath on the opposite side laughed loudly. Does it feel difficult to handle? That's right. You gave up Lin Xiao when you split up the team before, and your holy crystal rankings are not as good as our anger. Everyone has the same friendship. I see how you fight with me. By the way, Ming Luo has decided to give up Lin Xiao, and now we and Wei Yao are the only ones who can fight, but Wei Yao usually makes a move once more than 10 years ago. The last time he made a move was 2 years ago, and it is estimated that no one will be sent this year. Come, so. The three were speechless, but Lao Guo, the leader, opened his mouth, but there was another voice. Is it? The four of them suddenly raised their heads at the same time with unexpected expressions, and I do not know when a voice other than the four appeared in this space. A little starlight rippled away, and a handsome young man in white appeared from it. From the surface, he looked like an ordinary person without any abnormality, but when the four of them saw him, it seemed like they saw some terrifying existence, especially from the angry observer took a step back subconsciously, and quickly realized where he was trying to calm himself. The three observers from St. Crystal looked at each other, and at the same time, they bowed their hands to the boy in white, and asked, "Why are you here?" The boy in white glanced at them and said lightly, "Take 2 people away." The four felt bad at the same time and asked, "Who do you want to take away?" In the hall, Lin Xiao was chatting with Lin Shu. He received a message from Lin Shu just now that he had been recruited by the 41st ranked, Dark Moon, in the higher education institution. Said it has been pretty good. At this point, they had already withdrawn from the original group. Gucheng had not communicated with them since the end of the exchange competition, and they were too lazy to pay attention to it. When the summer camp ends, Grandpa will definitely be very happy. Lin Shu's face was bright and excited at this time. P.S. P.Y. about the Mid-Autumn Festival Mingyu boss, I just want to be self-reliant. This book is also known as, I am really a second generation of dismantling. Zhao Dezu was reborn. He doesn't know how to trade treasury bills, he doesn't know how to trade stocks, he doesn't remember winning lottery numbers, and he doesn't know how to do business to make money. He has only one thought: I want to be self-reliant. Don't be the one who eats and waits to die again. Dismantle the second generation. Chapter 177 The Dust Settles. Lin Xiao also showed a look of anticipation. At this time, he had already imagined how happy his parents would be when they heard the news, especially his mother. He laughed suddenly, imagining in his mind how his mother would look in front of his aunt. At this moment, Shen Yuexin, who had been shrinking on the golden throne in the shape of an ostrich, suddenly raised her head, her mouth slightly opened, and a surprised expression appeared on her pretty face, as if someone was contacting her. Then, a starlight suddenly landed on her body from the sky, and the bright starlight shone around, setting off the already beautiful girl so beautifully. At the same time, streaks of starlight fell from the sky from time to cover the students in the seats, and the filaments in the bright beam of light were entangled to form strange marks that slowly fell on the selected ones. Many ordinary students below saw this scene with envious eyes, because this mark represents that they have been officially recruited by various institutions of higher learning. The previous one was also a special move, but after all, the summer camp has not yet ended, so it has not yet been determined. It is equivalent to a promise. If there is no accident, when the summer camp ends, it will be officially marked as it is now, which means the official dust has settled. One after another starlight fell, one after another, and everyone shrouded in starlight showed a happy expression, regardless of whether they got the first or the first 3 seats. As long as they got the special move, they themselves were the best among their peers. Affirmation of higher education institutions. And the imprint on Shen Yuexin's body that is gradually condensing seems to come from the imprint of the 7th-ranked Super Academy, Mingluo. She was recruited by Mingluo. Lin Xiao was about to ask her when he suddenly saw a little crystal light explode on her body, and the invisible ripples shattered the newly formed Mingluo mark. He heard a faint roar and stopped abruptly, and then a little crystal light gathered on her wrist, congealed into a new imprint. When he saw the appearance of this mark, Lin Xiao's pupils opened with joy, and he was extremely disappointed, because this was the mark from the first Super Academy, Wei Yao, and Wei Yao actually gave her a special recruitment quota and forcibly took her from Mingluo, robbed past. According to the default rules, this naturally means that Wei Yao will not give him a special recruitment quota. There was a little loss, but he still smiled and said to the girl, "Congratulations, this is a special invitation from Wei Yao." The girl was still a little stunned at this time, and said in surprise, "I didn't receive an invitation from Wei Yao." "Then what?" Lin Xiao's voice stopped abruptly, and the ripples formed by a little clear light in his pupils swayed, reflecting a handsome white-clothed boy walking out of the ripples, and the voice appeared directly in his mind. "Well, boy, you are lucky." Then, a ray of starlight descended from the sky and enveloped him, and countless threads of light were entangled, forming a mark on his hand that was exactly the same as Shen Yuexin's. Ah, this! He and Shen Yuexin were both stunned and wiped their eyes hard. He whispered to the girl next to him in disbelief, "If I'm not mistaken, we've all been recruited by Wei Yao. Who are you and us?" The girl glanced at him in disgust and said, "It should be like this. Can Wei Yao make 2 special moves at the same time?" At this time, others also saw the marks on their bodies, and the few players who were sitting on the golden throne with them could no longer maintain their youthful arrogance, and they stared at them almost at the same time, their eyes full of disbelief. "How can that be? Isn't it possible that each of the 5 super universities can only choose one?" "But this is brilliance," Wu Zonglin said lightly, and nodded to Lin Xiao and Shen Yuexin. "It's shining. Yeah, this is glory." Several teenagers sat down with their mouths in their mouths, no surprise on their faces, but the deep envy in their eyes could not be concealed. The teenagers in their row slowly calmed down and were no longer as surprised as before, but below, more and more people heard or saw, one after another, shocked or envious or puzzled eyes cast on the 2 of them on his body. Countless small discussions gathered together to form a sound wave that was getting louder and louder. It wasn't until a sudden bell rang, and a beam of light from the podium descended from the sky to reveal the host's figure, and the hall calmed down. The host, Instructor Mo's stressful eyes swept over everyone present, and the audience was silent before he said in a deep voice, "The 3rd phase of this summer camp has ended. First of all, congratulations to all of you for winning the exchange competition with the Ivy League College League. This is a very good qualification for you and will be recorded in the file. It may not be useful now, but there will be additional benefits when you go to college in the future or when you join the military." After a pause, he continued, "According to the summer camp booking process, the 3rd stage is also the last stage. After you receive the rewards, this summer camp will be over. You can stay in the fortress for 3 days. During this period, some students may receive a letter from the military. Reserves invitation. I hope the students who receive the invitation can carefully check the content of the invitation, and if you can, it is best to accept the invitation. Of course, it's not a requirement, but it's a good thing to be reminded in my personal capacity. Now, everyone, receive the reward." As soon as the voice fell, thousands of beams of light fell from the sky onto all the students. Although there were only 20 people in Baihua Sha district before the exchange competition, which was pitiful, but according to the rules of the summer camp, whoever stayed until the end could get an extra card slot, and then get a certain amount of rewards according to the last seated position. The higher the position, the more rewards, including 1 extra ancient quality god card and 5 golden mythical quality 5-star cards for each gold rank. In other words, Lin Xiao won the 1st place in the exchange competition. In addition to the 4 extra card slots for the 1st place in the exchange competition, he also added a total of 5 additional card slots, as well as 3 ancient quality god cards and 15 random quality cards. 5-star card. So many rewards. Lin Xiao rubbed his hands in anticipation. With the passage of time, the beams of light disappeared, and soon there were only a dozen or so, then a dozen, and finally only Lin Xiao, Shen Yuexin and Wu Zonglin remained. Then the 3 of them were ranked and extinguished one by one, and in the end, only Lin Xiao was left to continue to receive the empowerment of the warp energy under the attention of all the people. This feeling, to be honest, is very cool, quite cool. But no matter how cool it is, there is an end. When the empowerment is completed, a light curtain unfolds in front of Lin Xiao's eyes, and the rewarding part that he loves to see begins. He rubs his hands excitedly and starts to check the rewards. First, there are 3 ancient quality cards to receive. When he clicked on the ancient card interface, a stream of crystal light shone down, more than the last time. The dazzling array of cards dazzled him, and he didn't know which one to choose. However, he has a knack for searching for the least amount of cards first, and generally the least valuable ones are more valuable than the batch-made ancient cards like the Frost Warlock class that he had chosen before. After setting the search criteria, as soon as the screen turned, the number of cards in front of him changed rapidly. Several ancient cards with only one Liao Liao appeared in front of him, and the first one immediately caught his attention. 5-star item card. Fire Dragon Blood Essence Ancient. Obtain a drop of adult red dragon blood, which can give the target Fire Dragon bloodline, and has a chance to promote the target to a hero. This is a good thing. Lin Xiao took this thing first without hesitation. If other God's Domain players get this thing, they can create a Red Dragon Vein Warlock with an extraordinary 6-level upper limit and an 8-level legendary level at the beginning. For Lin Xiao, it's not just about creating a Dragon Vein Warlock. He won't be so short-sighted and only create a Dragon Vein Warlock. With the magic cube in hand, his ambitions are much larger than ordinary people. Then look at the second ancient crystal card with only one piece. It is an extremely rare resource card, and it is a miniature mithril vein. Loading it in God's Domain can form a miniature mithril or vein in the underground of the designated location. The most important thing is that this ore vein is not one time, but a steady stream. As long as this ancient quality card is still there, the energy will continue to flow. Generate new mithril. It can be said that the value is very high. Mithril itself is an essential material for advanced magic equipment, and it is very valuable in the market. But the problem is that this thing is a bit tasteless to them now, because their current level is not the level involving magic equipment, unless he waits for his intelligent goblin to grow up and start to try to make magic equipment, otherwise he can only dig out warehouses. Put it on the trading platform and sell it. So, pass. The eyes quickly swept to the third card, which is a weather card. It can be loaded into the God's Domain to form 2 climates of lightning and storm. At the same time, the Lord of the God's Domain can also manipulate the lightning storm by consuming divine power to enhance his majesty and persecution in the eyes of believers. Grid, or kill the enemy who invaded the realm of the gods. The current God's Domain has no weather or climate, except for the initial breeze that comes with it. There are no cloudy days, rainy days, spring, summer, autumn and winter, lightning and so on. Having this card, God's Domain will form these 2 at a certain time. This kind of climate, and at the same time let him master the ability to cast lightning storms, which can be said to be quite powerful. But well, let's put the options first. He didn't say no, he had to have all the cards that complemented the rules of God's Domain, and he would have to fill them all in the future. But there are so many cards here, and the number of places in hand is limited, so you have to see if there is any more suitable for you. Next, he checked them one by one, unless it was quite suitable for him, and then marked the others as needed, and read the cards first. Anyway, there is no time limit now. If he has the ability, he can squat here and watch the time for a day. The truth is of course not that long. There are not many ancient quality cards. There are only 200 or 300 kinds. It doesn't take long for him to scan it first. In fact, when the 16th card was scanned, he saw a card without hesitation and took it into his pocket first, using up the second quota. This is a large iron ore vein card that can be loaded into Dominion to form a large iron ore that can also regenerate at a designated location. The size of the ore vein is divided into 6 sizes: micro, small, medium, large, super large, and giant. The size is not necessarily related to the card level, but is related to the rarity of mineral resources. For example, with the same 5-star ancient quality mine card, the mithril ore can only be a micro ore vein, and the iron ore can reach a large scale, and a small amount of other minerals are randomly associated. According to basic minerals such as iron ore, large is the limit of 5-star cards, and super large iron ore is only available for cards above 5-star.